This is FAB-Racing.
Hello and welcome to round 6 of the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championship. My name is Gareth Hall. I am with Tristan Finocchiaro, and it is the Mototechniks round 6 from Ellough Park here on the Norfolk-Suffolk border in East Anglia of England. It is a beautiful weekend racing, and we've got some absolutely sensational racing coming up. Penultimate round of the season, Tristan. Championship starting to get towards that sharp end. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, a couple of championships can be decided this weekend. Really good. A lot of them going down to the wire, and in a lot of the junior classes and in the senior classes. So plenty of points on the board as well with the 3 races a weekend. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and a couple of those categories coming up with the likes of the AC40 Pros. That's going to be one race left to go. Archie has been absolutely sublime this season.
Yeah, been really, really strong. A lot of these riders, we've seen a bit of a trend that a lot of the riders out the front, like the likes of Clayton, the likes of Ethan Sparks, some of the riders at the top of these categories are on really, really good form this year. They've consolidated what they've learnt last year, and this year come really strong. And Archie O'Brien, perfect example of that, and a track like this will really suit him. A lot of nice, fast-flowing corners, as well as some tight sections as well. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and just a little bit about the circuit. We're having a quick glance around. It's an incredibly fast circuit, especially the first half of the circuit allows you to almost stay on full throttle for the majority of it. A bit of a tight and technical third sector of the lap. What's it like being on these bikes around here?
Yeah, like you say, I mean, that first section's all fast and flowing, and you sort of your head space is in that mindset, and all these guys will be like that. And as soon as you get to that last section, your bike's going to has to be slightly differently set up for that section, because it's stop-start, very hard on the brakes. So it's definitely going to be one of those sort of circuits where you was set up, but it's also something that these guys are going to have to get used to.
Absolutely so, and of course we move up to the likes of the premier class here at FAB, the MKGP 70s. They are in a title fight for the ages. Ethan Sparks, Mason Foster and Filip Sorowiak, who got his first win of the season back at Rowra, are making it a 3-way title battle going all the way to the final round at Landau in a few weeks' time. That has been a great watch all season.
That Premier Class always exciting, especially this year, especially with the depth of field that we have in the category this year. Those top 3 have really been on it, and it's going to be interesting to see if any of the other guys can make their way up onto the podium as well.
Yeah, and it's going to be such a great watch. We've really enjoyed watching those guys all season long. We've got so much coming up this weekend, so make sure you don't miss a beat of it by sticking here on Motorsport Radio. But we spoke to a couple of the riders earlier on in the weekend and found out what they were thinking of the weekend coming up. I'm in the paddock here with Oliver Hall, AC40 rookie rider. Oliver, you've come into this weekend. You've got a couple of new stickers on the bike there. Do you want to tell us it's a bit of a special weekend for you?
It's a special weekend for me because my Uncle Steve isn't with me anymore. So this weekend is to win for him, and my mum had a baby which is called Ella, and this is Ellough Park, and I'm going to win it for her as well.
Yeah, it's great to see that memorial beautifully done on the front of the bike there. And as you say, a baby sister for you. You must be pretty happy. And also, you must be pretty happy you were looking at good out there on the circuit a little bit earlier today.
Yeah, the track is very grippy and it's very fun, because I was doing practice today on 14 mil and I know Lewis Cole's lines. So I know where to go, and it's very easy. And he knows mine as well, obviously.
And obviously you're aiming for a good result here in the rookies this season. So what's the goal this weekend? Obviously we know that you love those wins, or is it just about being consistent and picking up some points?
Both, because I like being consistent and I want to win the championship for Uncle Steve, and I want to win it for Ella, and I want to win it for everybody, to be honest, because they're all proud of me.
They are indeed, and it's a great thing to see, of course, in loving memory of Steve Johnson on the front of the bike. That's Oliver Hall, who will be racing the AC40 rookies this weekend.
So here with Ollie, who want to ride in the GP70s. Just talk us through your season so far.
So this season, we're trying to get better results, because at the start of the season we were around 8th and 9th, and we're trying to climb up to like at least a top 5. But that's the aim for the season.
You're consistently up there fighting for top fives and podiums last year. The depth of field this year in the GP70s is really strong though.
Yeah, there's a lot more bigger names in the 70s and everyone's a lot quicker. And the bikes are just a lot more fun as well though. It just makes it funner to ride.
So would you say sort of lap times and pace are the same? It's just that the whole depth of field is doing the same or more?
Yeah, a lot of the people out there are just like massively quick. And I'm trying to find the time at this track at the moment, but it's not going very well. But hopefully this session I can make at least 0.5 of a second.
But it's brilliant for learning and everything, having such a depth of field, and brings you on massively and ready to go on to big things. So what's your targets for the future?
We're not sure yet. So we got a KTM 390. I mean, we might be racing that in a series, but we're not really sure. We'll just see. We'll see what it kind of brings us next year.
Perfect. Here at Ellough Park this weekend. Do you like this circuit? What's your targets for this weekend?
I like the circuit. I need to get better. I need to find better times. I can't really find it at the moment.
All right. Well, best of luck with it, mate.
Thank you.
From one GP70 rider to another, and one that's come up through the ranks here at FAB-Racing, Greg Marshall. Greg, just talk us through how you got to this point where you are now in the GP70s.
Well, I started when I was 9. I went to a place in Leeds. You learn in a car park on dirt bikes, and then I started watching BSB. Well, I started watching BSB before that. So then I went to a place in Durham called Bikewise, where they do mini motos. And then I bought my first mini moto. It was a Polini. Took it to Rowra at the end of 2017. Then I bought my dad bought a more competitive bike. And then we took that 2 years at Fab, and then I got my Metro kit.
What motivated you to start it all and go racing?
Well, my granddad wanted to go see the World Superbikes, so we got some tickets for Donington for his birthday, and we went to see that, and then I started watching BSB and just wanted to try it for myself.
How's this year moved up to the Premier class this year? So how's this season gone for you?
Well, started off the season by breaking my arm, which wasn't great, and then came back at Red Lodge, wasn't feeling great after 6 weeks off the bike with my broken arm, and then at Clay Pigeon I started getting back into it and going round corners nicely again, and I'm starting to find the pace here quite nicely, up with Charlie Huntingford and Ollie Horner in the last session.
So how's that affecting you now? Is that you completely recovered now?
Yeah, my arm's good now.
Awesome. So targets for this weekend?
Just to battle with some other riders like Ollie and Charlie maybe, and maybe some others as well.
Awesome. Well, best of luck.
Thank you.
Cool. Now here with Harry Payne riding in both the MKGP50s and the GP70s. A few technical gremlins for you here today?
Yeah, the 50 died on the track, and then the 70 we've had some spluttering and electronic issues.
What's that like for yourself? Obviously, you've got to make sure you keep a calm head and keep composed for the rest of the weekend. Obviously,
for the 70, it's not as bad. It still is bad, but it's not as bad because I'm not fighting for the championship. But the 50, I'm fighting for my first top 3 in the championship, even top 5 in the championship. So it's quite frustrating at some points.
So, I mean, good season for you so far in the 50s, like you say, fighting for the top 3 in the championship. Just talk us through it.
At Leeds, I was like getting a load of 4ths and 5ths. Then at Red Lodge, it was battles between me and Archie Gibbs, and then that was the same. Oh no, at Clay Pigeon, it was wet and I was going really well, and I was getting 3rds, and then obviously at Rowra, I got 3rd, and then in the warm-up I had a big crash, and then I got 4th and a 3rd, and obviously this round just hoping to get top 3 again.
So like you say, looking for top 3 this weekend. Looks as if it's going to be sunny and warm all weekend. Would you prefer it like that, or would you prefer a bit of rain?
It would go a little bit of both ways, to be fair, because I'm good in the wet, but Archie's also good, and I'm good in the dry, and Archie's also good in the dry, so it's going to be really hard and tough.
been really competitive this year, both in the 50s and especially in the 70s as well. What's it been like competing in such a competitive field?
The 70s, it's hard to keep up with the pace of like Ronnie Harris and Ethan Sparks, and the 50s I've been trying to latch on to Marco and Clayton, but it's been really hard.
Awesome. Well, we've been doing really, really well in your first full season on these bikes, so we wish you the best of luck for the rest of the weekend and the rest of the season.
Thank you.
So just coming up to Philip Shroviak and Sullivan Mounsey here, both together. Philip, we just stop you just for a second, and Sully, come on, we'll get you both in. So Sullivan, we're used to seeing you over at British Talent Cup, even on the podium now as well. Are you looking up to him?
Yeah, I'm doing BEC next year, hopefully, if everything goes to plan, and yeah.
Are you thinking Philip's going to be some sort of a threat to you next year?
I've got a bit of a challenge going on, but he's a good rider. He's quite a heavy rider compared to most of these riders in here. He's got quite a good style. Man, I think he'll be quite good next year. Just need him to slow down a tiny bit and he might be all right.
Are you going to slow down for Sully?
We'll see about it. We'll see how much he pays me.
You've had a really good season so far. Got that first win finally. What's the ambitions this weekend?
Hopefully I can do the same. This session went really well, although it was kind of short. I just got past everyone, was going to set my fastest lap, and then the checkered flag came out, so yeah.
All right, well, both looking strong. Sullivan, obviously, like I said, we're used to seeing you at BTC. What brings you here then?
Just a bit of practicing and testing and just stuff like that. So I'm riding the Moto 4, just get to warm it up a bit and get into the rhythm of riding, and just a bit of practice on the front and saving it, because if you haven't seen already, I'm literally just losing the front and the rear everywhere, but that's good practice for BTC, and that's my main championship that I'm trying my best in.
Obviously, you've already been up and through these categories. What's it like coming back?
Well, actually, I've never done 70s. I just went 50 straight to the Moto 3. But it's my first season in 70, even though I'm not doing a full season. So I'm still on his level, really, on a 70. But it's a really good class, really good bike. It's good to get you back up. There's the Ovale Championships, which I think is also good. But we just try. It's the best for all the riders, especially the young ones. You need to have a very competitive class, and all the bikes standard. I think that's what 70s and 160s and 110s are providing. You just need to get everyone in one class. But it's been really good.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing you guys battling for podiums this weekend. But which one of you is going to finish higher?
Me.
I would answer that question with me, but my bike's not too strong, but I'm going to try my best to keep up with these lot.
What do you think? Is that excuses?
We'll see tomorrow, all right?
Awesome. Well, best of luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Luke Fidget. Luke, we are back on the bike. It's great to see. How's the track feeling?
It's feeling really nice. I've only been to this track once, so last year, and I just love the track with the fast-flowing corners.
Yeah, it is quite a quick track out here, especially that opening part of the lap. So tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the first two corners are really fast open corners. Then you got like a little sort of a tight hairpin, but other than that, and the chicane further down the lap, it's really fast and flowing. So I love those tracks.
And obviously, you've had a couple of rounds since your injury. How are you feeling? How's yourself getting back on the bike, and equally a little bit of confidence in it?
Yeah, it's really nice to be back on the bike still. Hopefully I haven't had any more injuries, but while I've been going around, it's just been really nice. I'm really enjoying the track, like I said.
And looking forward to this weekend, who are you thinking is going to be rivals out there on circuit? Everyone's looking pretty quick here in practice, but what's it looking like on circuit?
Of course, I'd like to have a battle with Bill on the Metro kit, because he's sort of been my sort of aim all year, and on the LCs I sort of like to get a bit in touch with the two Archies, who are really quick at the moment. So, yeah.
And obviously coming towards the end of the season, Have you got a goal in mind for the end of the season? Obviously looking forward to 2022?
We're not really. We're just sort of going to do the same again. So we're going to get a different engine next year for the LC, but in the metric it's the same. So just going to ride them quicker.
Well, hopefully see you towards the front this weekend here at Ellough Park. Luke Fidget, absolute superstar. He'll be out on circuit very soon.
Okay, so we're here with Lewis Hull, riding over in the minis. How's it been so far this year?
Very good. I've really enjoyed it. Of going from rookie to pro, it's a massive difference. But because I'm one of the oldest in the pack, because I'm the biggest, it just helps with the extra power, really.
So what's it like competing with that extra little bit of height you've got?
It's fine. You have to make up the time where you can, but you've also got advantages to it. Like, because I'm older, I'm a little bit more mature, so I can take in things easier and quicker.
And in terms around the corner as well, that extra little bit of weight helps you around the corners?
Yeah, especially in the rain, because it will keep it's got a good downforce, so it's good.
What did you take to this circuit then? Bit different to the last one?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I did decent at Clay, got 1/3. Here I do like Ella, but I think, fingers crossed, we can get a podium.
And what do you think it's going to take to get onto that podium?
Beating Mr. Finley Polhill.
Perfect. Well, best of luck.
Thank you.
So here with Pit Bike Sonic.
Hello.
Home round?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Weather looks lovely. I'm actually looking forward to a full dry weekend instead of a wet one this weekend. So yeah, hopefully it'll be good.
So don't like the wet then?
I do like well, not after Rower, if you saw the video, but yeah, normally we go well in the wet, but it's going to be a nice dry weekend this weekend. So
yeah, we have to apologise for the curse we put on with the onboard camera.
Yeah, and I apologise for wrecking your stuff as well.
You don't have to apologise to me. But targets for this weekend then?
It's Fast Boys here. Obviously, the British Talent Cup are not racing this weekend, so we've got Rossi back. I think we've got I forgot his name now. Banks Racing, Harrison Crosby, that's the one. So we've got him racing this weekend. So yeah, top fives will be good. You never know, we might be out to get a podium. Hopefully get some wins in the Moto team.
Awesome, well, best of luck, mate.
Cheers, Maddie. Speak soon.
And we'll just move across over to one of Jamie's competitors. We'll just move over to Reese Peacock, who we've seen who's been fighting at the front of the Pit Bike 140s. How are you finding it, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been nice to actually be up there with the front boys. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it actually. Just trying to keep on the thing that I'm struggling with.
We see a lot of the BSB names come into this category. What's it like riding against those lot?
I actually really enjoy it because like you sit at home on a Saturday when you're not racing, you're like Rossi's racing, so you just see how he's getting on. But no, I really enjoy it. It's nice to like measure yourself against them. It's really good.
It's a fun little paddock for anyone who just wants to come and have a bit of fun racing. So, what's it like as a whole?
So basically, like I started last year, didn't know anybody, got to know Jay, as everybody does. Everybody knows Pit Bike Sonic. So yeah, we just become friendly, and then he invited us over, and we just sort of then this like a whole family sort of thing, and it's really good. It's not all about the racing; it's about the night time as well. Sit down, have a few beers. It's brilliant. I recommend it to anybody.
So what would you say to anyone who wants to try and get into it?
Do it. Don't hesitate. Just do it. Just do it.
Awesome. Thanks, mate.
No worries. Cheers.
I'm here with the father-son connection. It's Simon and Charlie Huntingford. We'll start off with Charlie. Well, it's a home race for you. Yeah. So you know Ellough Park well?
Yeah, I really like this track. It's one of my favourites on the calendar, and we come practicing here a lot, so I know the layout really well.
And you've been getting quicker and quicker on the bike as the season's gone on. How's it been feeling as you've got used to it?
I've just been trying to gain my confidence. So I've just been having more fun on the bike, and my lap times seem to get faster.
And what's it been like moving from that mini moto up onto the metric kit? What's the learning scheme that you've had to go through?
The mini moto definitely helps, getting onto the bigger bikes, because the liquid cooled feels actually power-wise similar to the 70, but the mini motos taught you throttle control and just the overall basics of racing.
And obviously coming towards the end of the season, 2022 on the horizon, what's the plans for next year?
Hopefully we'll be doing British Talent Cup in BSB next year.
Well, it's the best place, Fab, to learn your skills and your trade to go up to BSP. Let's move over to Dad. Let's move to Simon. Great to see you, Simon. And, well, you've been testing yourself up on the senior mini motos this season. How's it going?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, mini motos are good fun. The friends I've gained from it over the last 3 years has been amazing. But yeah, I mean, it teaches you so much, as Charlie mentioned. Learning the throttle control, tucking the front, losing the back. It's all great fun, and you're not going to hurt yourself too badly, so you're going to be able to go to work on a Monday morning. So no, it's brilliant. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a play thing for me. Charlie's racing, so why not come and have a go?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's great to see that dad-son connection. And what's it like, you sitting on the sidelines having to watch him out there flying around the circuit?
Well, it makes you feel a bit sick because he's going so quick these days. And if he does do the British Talent Cup next year, that's a big stage and a big step for him. So, yeah, hopefully nothing's going to be too untoward him. But at the end of the day, he enjoys it. He's good at it. I mean, I've had to watch it for the last few years, so I'm getting used to it. And it's not easy, I must admit.
Has he been giving you any tips how to ride it a bit better?
Well, the last year he's now got quicker than me, so yeah, I've had to buy a different bike, especially when we go practicing. I've got like one of these O'Bailey things, and I still can't keep up with him. So yeah, but we have some great tussles. I mean, when you're out riding with your son and you've both got your knee down halfway through the track, and it's amazing, really. You just can't. Money doesn't buy that, so I encourage more dads to do it.
Yeah, it's great to see. That's Simon and Charlie Huntingford. Of course, they'll be out on circuit. Simon and the seniors, Charlie will be out there in the 70s. They are a great pairing and a great watch. Make sure you tune in for that a little bit later. I'm here with the bike that you can never miss on circuit. It's the 199 Finley Polhill. Finley, you've been getting quicker and quicker as this season's gone on. How's it been feeling for you?
It's been feeling all right today. I've had quite a successful day, now down in the 54s.
And you've been pretty much chasing Archie O'Brien for the last few races. What's it like being out there on circuit with him? He seems to be a good benchmark for you to get towards.
Yeah, he helps me out a little bit on my lap times, so I get a little bit quicker every session.
And tell us a little bit more about the bike. You're here, of course, you're on the pros. We saw you in the rookies last season. What's the goal for you? Are you going to stay in the pros for a bit and maybe move on to that Metro kit?
I'm probably going to do pros and Metro kits, as I've not got an LC yet.
And we know that you've got a Metro kit bike, possibly waiting for next season. Have you had a chance to have a run out on it yet?
Yeah, I've been round at Kingsham a few times, but not really ready to race it yet.
This weekend, what are you thinking? Obviously, you're going to go out there, have qualifying and put a decent lap in. What do you think the goal is for the end of the weekend?
To get a podium in every race.
Well, that's a goal and a half to go for, but I'm sure he can do it. That is Finley Polhill. We'll see him out on circuit in the AC40 Pros. I'm here with Chris Wells, 140 rider, of course, pit bikes. How's the collarbone recovering after that big fall?
Yeah, we're going well. Second time out on the bike today. Had a little test last Saturday. Just had a little ride around Fat Cats and got the feel for it. And yeah, it's good today. Do about 6 laps and then it starts to fade. So races will be interesting, but yeah, looking forward to it. Glad to be back.
Yeah, absolutely great to have you back as well, because the track's been feeling a little bit empty there with a couple of the guys missing, so you must be glad to be out there and hopefully pushing yourself back towards that podium.
Yeah, bottom lip is out, watching the other lads flying around at the front, but yeah, having fun out there still.
And tell us a little bit about the circuit. You've been out there, as you say, you've done a couple of laps. How's it feeling?
Best track we go to. The tarmac's perfect, and yeah, just love it here. It's really good.
And of course, you had a bit of a time on sidelines. You got to come up and join me in the commentary box for that for one of those. What was it like watching these guys? Did you catch any tips off them?
Just jealousy, really. It's horrible watching them when you can't go out there. So yeah, but it's fun to join you in the commentary box.
Absolutely so, and well, hopefully we'll see you back on that top step this weekend. Chris Wells, he'll be running in the PB140s. I'm here with Ben Jollif, racing this weekend. Ben, what's the bike feeling like?
Good. Always like always.
You've been getting stronger and stronger as the season's gone on. What's it felt like for you coming into penultimate round? Of course, one more to go after this, Landau. What's the goal coming out this weekend?
Well, podium, really.
And rivals on circuit, who are you thinking? Who's going to be the one that you need to beat?
Probably Ronnie or Philip.
And tell us a little bit more about the bike. You've been on it for a while now. How's it like to ride?
Good. Well, we've got everything dialed out now, so it's the best it could be.
And it's a bit of a setup day. What's it like? Have you been tweaking a few things? Have you got any ideas about what we want to do for qualifying?
Well, we've just left everything the same from the last time we went practicing.
And obviously you're saying running against the likes of Ronnie this weekend, Ronnie Harris obviously. He's had maybe the season that, well, you two have almost been glued together at some of the races. What's it like to race up against these guys?
Well, it's really difficult, but if there's a little opportunity, you got to go for it.
We're here in the paddock at the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship 6th round Mototechniks here at Ellough Park, and I've just found Rossi Banham and Taylor Lawrence as they try and make their way around in. And Taylor, before you run away, I'm going to come and grab you. Don't worry about that. Taylor Lawrence here, currently leading the way in the pit bike 140. He's trying to get his leathers back up. Don't worry about that. But, well, Taylor, you had a pretty decent Rowra. Maybe one of the races not going your way. How was it for you?
Rowra was not the hardest one I've ever been to be honest with you. It was an alright round. Races were quite boring at times, but I just kept my consistency. Now that I know it's double points at Landau, I just got to stay consistent. Now that Rossi's back, he's just run off round there. You'll see him in a bit. This weekend's been a struggle already. I didn't get out for the last session because the bike wouldn't go. Struggling with the tyres coming around here because the tyres are a bit wearing a bit quick, so I need to get some new tyres on, but other than that it's going alright.
And like you say, back at Rowra you were having a bit of a lonely race occasion. What's it like out there, keeping your concentration, especially in tricky conditions up there?
It's more relaxing when you've got no one behind you, because you know you're in control, you can set the pace, you just keep consistent, you can slow down a lot, because when you got your gap that you do, you just got to keep it consistent, so you could slow down 5 seconds a lap if you wanted to. But when you're on your own, it's kind of difficult because you lose concentration. Because when you've got no one around you, you kind of start to wander around. So you just got to keep looking forward. Like I was watching Jamie King's battle on his 125 with the other two a lot of the time down the back straight, which made me lose my braking points about 10 times. But other than that, yeah, it wasn't bad. It's hard to keep your concentration though when you've got a big gap.
And you've got to be happy to have Rossi back on track this weekend. You missed him in the last one, and Rossi's over here. Is it good to be back? We've missed you the last few rounds.
Yeah, it's been great. Just a Friday practice, skidding into the corners, that's it.
Tell us a little bit more about the circuit. You've been out there, done a couple of laps. What's it feeling like?
It's quite slippery at the minute because they keep putting the powder down, and they put too much down. I went into the corner and nearly died.
So, obviously, you've got this man that's going to be probably your main rival this week. And what's it like racing him?
It's quite fun actually, because he can actually battle, and
I try my best.
and he doesn't take no for an answer, so it's quite fun.
And obviously, coming towards the end of the season, only 2 rounds left to go. What are you thinking? Can you catch him?
No, there's too many points. I can't get that many wins. No way.
Well, we'll see what they can do on circuit. It's always a brilliant battle. Rossi Banham and Taylor Lawrence, they'll be out on track in the pit bike 140s. Ace. Cheers, boys.
Thank you. Here with Austin Johnson, last year in the AC40 rookies, making that step up to the AC40 pros and also now onto a Metro kit as well. So how are you finding it?
Good. It's quite difficult to, when it's new to being on a Metro kit, you just need to get into the hang of getting into the right gear in the right place. Minis, I really like this track. It's smooth and I go quite well around here.
So how's your season been so far then?
I've had quite a good season. Rowra wasn't very good. I DNF'd 4 to 5 times. I reckon I can do well here this year though.
What are you aiming for this weekend then in both the Metro kits and on the minis?
Minis, I'm hoping a podium at least, maybe a first. Metro kits, I'm just on the Metro kit to have a bit of fun. So I don't really mind where I come. Like to be not in last is good, but.
And clearly looking towards next year as well as next year, the plan to step up onto the gear bikes?
So I think my brother is staying in the pros and riding 50s, and I'm riding elites and 50s.
So lots to look forward to. What's your ambitions further down the line in your career as well?
go well, maybe teach motorbikes one day. Racing maybe.
Awesome. Well, big ambitions, and we wish you the best of luck with all of it.
Thank you.
I'm here with Archie O'Brien, the man leading the way in the LC40 Elites and the AC40 Pros. Archie, it's been a great season for you so far on both bikes. How's it feeling coming into this round at Ellough?
Pretty confident, as this probably is my strongest track. Hopefully I get some more wins.
And we know mathematically you can sew up that AC40 Pro Championship. Is that something you're actively looking at doing, or are you just happy to pick up those points and get your way through?
Well, I'm not really thinking about it that much. I'm just sort of, I've got the mindset, if I win the championship.
Obviously, it was tricky conditions back at Rowra a few weeks ago. You had a pretty decent run of it, but maybe not what you were wanting. What were you thinking leaving Rowra?
Pretty happy with it. Obviously, having a DNF and the chain coming off, we only lost 2 points, so pretty happy.
And looking forward, penultimate round of the season, one more after this. What are you thinking, not only for this year, but for next?
Oh, well, sort of wrap this up and then maybe next year move on to the metric kits and see where that ends up.
Well, Archie O'Brien, who will be out on circuit very, very shortly, looking at doing exactly that, finishing first in both the AC40 Pros and the LC40 Elites.
So here with Zach Speed Penegar, and we're going to start off with the infamous question. Zach, what are you looking to achieve this weekend?
A podium.
And how are you going to do that?
Win.
You're going to win and podium?
Yes.
So you've had a little go in the commentary box now as well. How did you find that?
It's really fun.
Think you got a career in that as well?
Nah.
Focusing completely on the bikes?
Yep.
What do you think of this circuit then? What's it like?
It's definitely better than clay pigeon because this track's a lot smoother.
So you prefer it to all the other tracks?
Apart from Red Lodge, yes.
Do you say Red Lodge is your favourite?
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
I like the bendy corners.
And what do you like about this track?
I like the smoothness of it.
So very much just started your career. What are your ambitions for later? Where do you want to make it to?
I want to make it to at least British Talent Cup.
Is the aim to make it all the way to MotoGP?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing Zach Speed Penegar top step at MotoGP.
Yes, hopefully I see that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome here to the Mototechniks Round 6 of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championships. My name is Gareth Hall, and I've been finally, he's joined us back again in the commentary box. It's Tristan Finocchiaro. How are you doing, Tristan?
Yeah, I'm good. It's glad to be back. I'm glad to be back beside you, Gareth. I'm sure I can put up with you for another couple of days.
Oh, just about. We'll give it a go and we'll see how it is. But, well, we have got a brilliant weekend's racing here from Ellough Park. The sun is shining and the track is looking glorious, and it's perfect conditions for racing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you say, it's been good. Completely different to what we had last year, where it was complete monsoon weather here at Ellough Park. But this weekend, the sun was out all day yesterday, and it's out today. And we've got some great racing coming up as well in the seniors and with the juniors. It's currently the senior mini motos that are out on circuit at the moment for their second qualifying session of the day. The one earlier on was topped by the reigning champion Bernie Hook. And he's going to be looking to rack up the points this weekend.
He is, and well, for the uninitiated, do you want to let us know, or let everyone know that's watching at the moment, if you are watching, wherever you're watching, whether it's from home, whether you're on holiday or sitting on a beach with a cocktail and you're tuning in for some FAB Racing, we hope you're having a very lovely Saturday afternoon. Let us know what's coming up, what's the qualifying, how does it work?
Well, these guys get 2 qualifying sessions, so they've had their first round of qualifiers this morning, and the fastest lap time from those 2 sessions will decide the grid. So if any of these guys don't go faster than they did earlier on in this session, their time from earlier on will decide where they place on that grid. So essentially a long qualifying session with a break in between.
It is, and just give them a little bit of a chance if they maybe didn't get the lap they wanted in that Q1, to go out there as the seniors are doing so to try and improve in Q2. So we've got 9 races coming up later on today. We've got the AC40 Pros, the AC40 Rookies, LC40 Elites, Senior Mini Motos, the Pit Bike 140s The 4140s and Mini GP50s are in with themselves in one race. The Extreme 200s are in with the Moto teams. Mini GP70s, of course, those Metrokit bikes, the premier class at FAB. And we'll be finishing off the racing today with the Mini F1 sidecars. The sidecars, which you and I have now both been passengers on.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it, and I'm sure you enjoyed it. I think I probably screamed a little bit less than you did.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a bucket list item ticked off leaving the sidecars there. And a big thanks to Adrian Ems and John Hosker, who gave us both the chance of going out there. As we've got a couple of bikes just wheeling their way back into the pit lane. These senior mini motos often seem to have some technical issues there. And that's
it's Nick Bennett.
It is Nick Bennett that led the session in that one. He unfortunately was making his way back into the pit lane, maybe a little bit slower than he was hoping.
Yeah, was sat in 11th place in that session, and we're used to seeing him up the front fighting for podiums and all sorts. But it looks as if, you just look at the back there, it just looks as if the chains come off on that mini motor. Something that can happen quite regularly on these bikes. But coming out onto the circuit now, and we'll see coming up onto this panel straight, onto the home straight now, is the pit bike 140s out for their second qualifying session. Keep an eye out for drama in this session.
Yeah, the 140s, it's great to see them back out on circuit in much larger numbers this time around than when we were up at Raro, and of course there was that clash with BSB. So it's great to see the pit bikes back out and thundering the way around this circuit. That we had a quick glance around it yesterday, Tristan, and it's almost a circuit of two halves around here, isn't it? It's a very, very quick opening part to the lap, and then a very tight and technical end to the lap.
Yeah, exactly like you say. That first section, you've got those swooping right-handers at the beginning into a hairpin and with some more fast corners, and then that last section, very different to the rest of the circuit, real hard braking, real tight and technical, and a very different style. You can see the hairpin there, and then into another tight little section, and then back onto the fast-flowing section at the first section of the circuit. And these guys will be able to cope with that. The setup for the back section will have to be slightly different for the setup for the first section, so they'll be making compromises with their setup. Obviously, you can't change setup midway through the lap, so there'll be some compromises being made. More fast corners than there are slow corners, though, I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, it is a fantastic circuit. Everyone's saying how grippy it is out there, so that should really give us some brilliant racing. So you're going to want to tune in all throughout this afternoon session, of course, all day tomorrow, all the race 2s and race 3s. We are here at Ellough Park with Motorsport Radio and the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championships here in Beccles, East Anglia, right over in the east of the UK. It is near the coast. We've got a very nice westerly breeze coming over at the moment. It's a tight, compact circuit, which is clockwise. We were last here round 5 of season 2020. It's a 1,050 metre long circuit, and it is, of course, Mototechniks round 6 of that FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championships. Mototechniks very closely based here at Ellough. Of course, Simon Huntingford just down the road. It's going to be interesting to see what Simon and Charlie can do on in their categories this weekend.
Yeah, home circuit for them, and we spoke to Charlie and Simon earlier in the weekend. Well, you did, and Charlie mentioned that he really likes this circuit and it's one of his favourites, so it's going to be interesting to see how those guys get on. We've always seen that Mototechniks logo repped here at the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championships. Has also had some involvement over in the British Superbike paddock as well, has Mototechniks, so it's going to be interesting to see. Keep an eye out as well this weekend for track limits. There's been a warning from Roger Keys, who's the big boss here at FAB-Racing, warning of track limits, so just keep an eye out for that. It was the exit of the hairpin on the infield section and that inside on the dogleg chicane, but you can see all these guys in the 140s, they use every inch of the circuit and more, so it's going to be a big task to try and keep all these guys within the white lines.
Yeah, we did speak with Roger, of course, series director, earlier, and he was saying, well, it's so hard to police these 140s because they do like to explore the track and find out every opportunity to really extend and work out where they can find that pace. But the 140s are always a good show. And, well, another rider here that is at his home circuit is reigning champion Jamie King, as we've got the riders down to
that's Harrison Crosby, unfortunately, that's having problems with that pit bike 140, not what he would have wanted in his qualifying 2. It looks like, is he getting back up and running? No, he's still trying to get that bike restarted. So he did well earlier on in qualifying 1, was 7th of the 52.4. And has actually improved in this session. He's second currently in this session and went faster than he did earlier on, but it doesn't look like he's going to be going any quicker in this session. Of course, rider over in the British Talent Cup as well. Picked up his first podium by default at Silverstone, and now looking to rack up some podiums here as well in the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championships here at round 6 for the Mototechniks round of this season. Just one more round to go. Will be double points over at Clandale. So these guys trying to rack up the points here, but not many championships can be decided this weekend.
No, of course, we've had the announcement that the final round of the season, which will be in 2 weeks' time at Clandale in South Wales, will be a double points weekend. So it does really open up the opportunity for maybe those that were thinking, you know what, I've got nothing really left to race for this season. Well, if you can go and get yourself a couple of podiums, a couple of wins in South Wales, you might find yourself right back in title contention.
Yeah, it does change the way these guys have got to think about it as well, because of course more points on up for grabs now, so they're going to have to wait a little bit longer and make sure they're scoring points here, because nothing can be decided as of yet, and those few races, those final few races with double points are going to be so important in deciding these championships. We've got plenty of championships that are quite close at the top, but this championship here, with a lot of action going on screen, this championship here is not close in the championship at all. 136 points Taylor Lawrence is ahead of Reese Peacock. Rossi Banham it was who led the championship a few rounds ago, but he's been off on BSB duties over in the British Talent Cup, so hasn't been able to score points here, and now Taylor Lawrence really running away with the championship.
Yeah, he is, and he has said that it's been a bit of a lonely race, or lonely round last few rounds, where he's been out there without Rossi, and Rossi was really sort of his main rival in the category so far this season. So, well, hopefully we're going to see that battle restart and reignite between Taylor and Rossi. We've even got the likes of Jamie King, who's trying to stay in there, but of course Reese Peacock, he's been pretty decent so far this season when that bike has been working. And then of course, as you say, Harrison Crosby, who if he can get that bike fixed for race 1 a little bit later on today, he's been on the podium quite a few times this season when he's managed to make it to VAB, and that was back at Lid in race 1 or round 1 and round 2. So hopefully Harris will be able to get himself in the mix. So we might, we will hopefully get a pretty competitive 1B 140 category this weekend.
Well, we definitely should do. Like you say, he's been complaining that he's been a bit lonely the past couple of rounds with the absence of Rossi Banham, but he's not currently lonely on circuit, as we saw those guys swapping positions during this qualifying session, all trying to get the better of each other. It's the 113 that's currently having some issues at the side of this circuit, and is trying to push that bike, wheel that bike back to the pits. We've seen a few riders doing that in this session, and a couple of riders having to make their way back to the pits. It is something that we do sometimes see in the pit bike 140s, with that number 113, unfortunate end to qualifying 2 for him. That's Sam Smithson, who earlier on finished 15th in Q1 and would have been looking to improve that time here in Q2, but not to be.
No, but it's in Q2 with just under 3 minutes left to go. It's still Rossi Banham leading away from Taylor Lawrence by just under 0.5 of a second, so around about half a second to find for Taylor if he was to overhaul Rossi's best time. Harrison Crosby's been dropped down into 3rd behind Taylor. Chris Wells, which is great to see Chris back on the bike after his Coloff-owned break back at Rowra, back Clay Pigeon, sorry. So good to see Chris back on the bike. He's currently in 4th. Reese Peacock in 5th, with Jamie King, course reigning champion, in 6th position. Richard Holmes-Williams, Nathan Riggy, Ben Jollif and Darren Anderson are your current top 10 in this Quali 2 for the pit bike 140s. After the 140s, we've got plenty more. We've got the likes of the the MK GP50s, the Metric GP50s. That's a category that's really starting to heat up. It's interesting because we've had really Clayton Edmonds looking like the dominant force, and Marco Holt, he's made that move up onto the Metric kits, and he's getting closer, he's getting closer.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, at the beginning I thought with the dominance of Clayton and the strength that he had, I genuinely thought he was going to go on to win it, and he still can, obviously, but it's been proving to be more of a challenge than we'd expected for him, with Marco Holt really putting the hammer down the last few rounds and trying to get back and claw some points back for that championship. So yeah, that championship hotting up really nicely over in the MK GP50s, and we were speaking about Clayton earlier, and last couple of rounds he's been missing a couple of family members that he normally has by the circuit, with them having BSB commitments, and perhaps just rattled him a little bit.
Yeah, he's definitely looked much more on it this weekend, and Yeah, his mum been telling us that she thinks that this weekend he should be a little bit more dialed in. So we'll see if Clayton can really start to push on in that bid to win the GP50s. Of course, he'll be running in the GP70s this weekend too. Many of those riders that move up onto the Metro Kids like to test themselves out on both the 50s and on the 70s. And well, do you want to explain in the best that you can the difference between the 50s and the 70s?
More CC.
There you go.
More power. That's pretty much it, to be honest. I do have the regulations written down somewhere, so if I have a scoot through, I can tell you a little bit more. But yeah, mainly it is they are very, very similar bikes. It's pretty much just the CC, 50 from 50cc up to 70cc, and obviously the rider eligibility, you have to be slightly older in the GP70s. 10 years and 6 months is the 10 and a half years essentially is the youngest you can be in the GP70s, up to 15 years old, whereas in the GP50s it's 9 to 15 years old. But yeah, those bikes very, very similar. Chassis and motors remain unmodified, apart from a few things that they can do in terms of fueling and stuff like that, but mostly they are very, very similar machines, and it's a formula that we've seen work really, really well here at FAB-Racing in the junior categories and these senior categories, giving us plenty of entertainment as well, with Rossi Banham pulling some wheelies down that back straight to conclude qualifying for the pit bike 140s. It will be Rossi Banham then that's going to line up on pole position. Didn't go quicker in this session. There's Harrison Crosby wheeling his bike back to the pits, but pole position for Rossi Banham. Taylor Lawrence got his work cut out for him.
He has, and it's great to see, because a hungry Taylor is always a better Taylor, so we'll see what he can do as he lines up alongside Rossi a little bit later on, as Harrison, with those long golden locks of his, runs back to pit lane, hoping to get that bike fixed and ready to go for later on in the day. And I'm just having a quick glance over my notes as well. Every single lap record was broken here last season. So
really,
yeah. So the entire suite.
That's a nice fact.
Yeah, every category. So in fact, in that session, Rossi Banham was only a tenth slower than Charlie Nesbitt's fastest lap that he set here last year. So we could possibly see a new lap record this week.
Yeah, it's good weather for it, isn't it? So it's perfect conditions for these guys to be able to get those lap records. A lot of the riders have been telling us that there's plenty of grip out there on circuit. Sometimes when it's a bit warmer and when it's a bit hotter, the track temperature goes up. It is actually a little bit greasier, and it's harder to get those lap times in. But I don't think that's the case today. I think this is just about right for them to be able to go out and get those lap records.
Yeah, do you know what? That was actually a question I was just about to ask you. For someone that's raced previously, when you've had the conditions we've had, it's been a very warm, sunny day, and now we've got a little bit of cloud cover. It's almost, you're not getting that direct sunlight. So is that going to affect the track temperature? Does it almost keep it a nice, like, fluid level?
Yeah, it's better like this, actually. When it gets too hot, the track gets a little bit greasy and a little bit slippery, and it's not it's obviously it's safe and it's grippy enough, but it's not grippy enough to be setting lap record pace sort of thing. And I remember from a couple of experiences out on the World Championship stage, when we were doing testing, you'd have to get your lap time in before about 11 o'clock, otherwise it would get too hot and the lap times would go down. So yeah, like we said, if it gets a little bit too hot, the track does get a little bit greasy, but for these guys this will be perfect conditions for them as they go out for their qualifying too. This is now the mini GP50s, and like we were saying, this championship in this category really hotting up nicely, and it looks as if it's going to be a really good one. We've got a couple of extra bikes out there on circuit as well.
Yeah, we've got the junior 40 140s, the Ovalas, the likes of Izzy Carter and Charlie Eagling out there, and they're in with the GP50s. So be interested to see what Izzy can do, and equally what Charlie. It's always great to see the Ovalas out there doing their thing. We've seen them back at Clay Pigeon for the last 2 seasons, and they're now here as we look to possibly build ourselves a new category for 2022. So stay tuned for that. Of course, that'll be announced all on FAB. The 146, Clayton Evans, he's out there. He's got Archie Gibbs behind him on circuit as they circulate here in their second qualifying session. Archie Gibbs, who's made the jump up to the Metro Kit this season. In fact, not even at the start of the season. He decided to go mid-season and just moved himself out of the AC40 Pros up onto the Metro Kits, and he's been right on it ever since he got on that bike.
Yeah, he really has been, and it's been impressive. He's had a little bit of testing time, a little bit of track time before he's come and joined the race setup here at FAB-Racing. But yeah, like I say, it's been really impressive. Rookie in this season, and knocking on the door of podiums. Scored some podiums actually, and knocking on the door of wins, in fact. So he's going to be looking to try and score that first win. He didn't score any whilst I was away, did he?
I don't think so. I'll have to go. I'll go back through my notes.
I wouldn't be surprised if he has, but he definitely has the pace for it. But he'll be looking to pick up more wins if he hasn't already.
I'm desperately going to start flicking through my commentary Bible that I've got in front of me. That's got all my notes and my stats in front of it. But just with that last lap, Archie Gibbs at 51.3. Well, that's is 1.6 seconds faster than the lap record that was set last season.
Really?
Yeah. So already they obviously the lap record must have been done in maybe not sort of suboptimal conditions last season, because under it goes everyone up to Clayton Edmondson 4th. So it looks as though we're definitely going to get some lap records this season, which is great to see those guys gather. And it's something that these riders that we often see here and watch, they take note of. They want these lap records.
Yeah, they do, and like I said, last year was the first year that we came to this circuit, so all the lap records were set here at Ellough Park, and now these guys are all going to try and better it, and all going to try and get those lap records and get those names into the books here at the FAB-Racing Mini White British Championships, because some of these lap records at some of the other circuits are quite old and held by names that we now see over in the British Championships, over in the World Championships and MotoGP. Of course, like we've spoken many times about the riders that have come through the FAB-Racing Championships and all the separate categories on the ladder here at FAB-Racing. It is the perfect place to be making your way up into the world of motorcycle racing on the British stage and on the world stage in terms of superbikes and GP, and we've seen it plenty of times. And these bikes have been the core of FAB-Racing for a long time. These Metrokit GP50s and GP70s, two-stroke machines, and it really does teach these little lads the corner speed and the racecraft and the gears essentially as well, with a 6-speed box on these bikes.
Yeah, of course, FAB-Racing is an official partner to the British Superbikes. It is part of Dorna's Road to MotoGP, looking for the next British motorcycling star, and Fab is the best place to come if you want to come and test yourself up against those that are making their way up through the ranks into the likes of the British Talent Cup and beyond. And currently we've got the MKGP 50s out on circuit. We'll have the 70s a little bit later on. We've got a real title fight brewing in that 70s, and we came here last season, Tristan, and that battle between Lucas Brown and Johnny Garness possibly was won and lost here, with Garness going down in one of the crucial races and just making it so he was sort of on the tail end of Lucas going into the 8th and final round of that season. This time around, well, it can go anyway between three. We've got a 20-point split between Mason Foster, Ethan Sparks and Philip Soroviak.
Yeah, if you look at the story of the GP70s last year, it was very much going the way of Johnny Garness. He broke his hand mid-season and was out of it, and then Lucas Brown was racking up points, racking up wins, and closed that championship lead down. And then we thought when Johnny came back he'd be winning, but then Lucas really put the hammer down here, was flying around Ellough Park, and beat Johnny fair and square around here. So it just proves that if you think you know the way that the story of the championship is going to go, it's not necessarily always the case, and that can very well happen this weekend at Ellough Park. Of course, next round double points as well, so that changes the perspective on the championship completely as well. So it'd be interesting to see what happens here in the MKGP 50s and in the GP70s, because like I said, last year it completely changed the championship.
Yeah, and the 58 Marco Holt, he is looking at possibly changing the championship this season, because he's currently leading away. 50.9 is currently top of this qualifying, but look how close that is. The top three split by less than a tenth of a second, which shows you that it's not just the MotoGPs, the full bikes that go out there and set times that are ridiculously close to each other. These guys on these mini GPs, well, a tenth of a second splitting three bikes. That is great to see.
Yeah, we've got to keep an eye on the times a little bit, because obviously they did set faster times earlier on in the MKGP 50 Q1. So the 50.3 was the fastest time earlier on. 50.9 at the moment. Number 58 of Marco Holt currently on screen. Of course, the man really trying to rack up points in the championship and close down that championship lead. It's 32 points at the top of the MKGP 50 championship between the number 146 of Clayton Edmonds and the number 58 of Marco Holt on that SIC 58 Squadra Corsa liveried inspired bike. Looks very similar to that livery that we see out on the world stage and out on the junior world stage as well. So I think it's fairly safe to say that inspired by Marco Simoncelli with the number 58 in that livery.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? I don't believe I ever saw Marco Simoncelli wearing a Minions crash helmet though, so I'd have to double
Clearly you
check
haven't been watching enough MotoGP.
Oh, clearly not.
He didn't.
Oh, okay. There we go. I got worried for a second there. But, how do these riders approach this weekend? Because obviously that double point weekend coming up in Clandel, I imagine a lot of them came in trying to work out the maths of what they need to do to beat their rivals. Now there's an entire 150 points available at round 8 or round 7, sorry, and 75 available here. So it's almost blown the championship back open to anyone to get back involved.
Yeah, it's it makes for great racing, makes for great entertainment, because right down to the wire, the championship will end up going right down to the wire with this format. It's similar to the showdown that we see at BSB that keeps the championship going right down to the wire, and that's what this will do. It's something that Fab used to do in the past, and they've brought that back. As we see on circuit, is a livery that you'll be used to seeing over in MotoGP. It's known as Mini Rossi, is Izzy Carter on the number 46. Looks like Valentino Rossi out on circuit, but we can confirm that it isn't.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
I've not seen the helmet off yet, so I can't confirm. But yeah, it's great to see Izzy back on circuit and out there on the Junior 140. There we go. We said it was a mouthful before the start.
140.
There we go. But we've got Archie Gibbs, Clayton Edmonds getting some practice starts. That's exactly what the start Clayton's going to need come the end of this one. And there is Harry Payne in the 11, Archie Gibbs on the 3, and Marco Holt on the 58 as they get out there. As Harry just lifts the front tyre ever so slightly. Marco, well, he's had some really good starts over the last few rounds. He's definitely going to be looking at improving and getting another decent run on this one. That's Wilson Dilks on the AC5, and good to see Wilson back here in the GP 50s, and everyone just out there just getting some final prep done before they head out for their first race of the weekend. George will be coming up, as I look at my schedule, approximately 4:45, 4:55. We'll be keeping you updated all throughout the day with the schedule on what times everything will be happening. But the first race of the day will be the AC40 Pros, and that is a championship I've really been enjoying throughout this season. The likes of Archie O'Brien has been really a revelation this season.
Yeah, Archie O'Brien's been really, really strong in both the AC40 Pros and the LC40 Elites, swapping from both bikes, from the air-cooled to the liquid-cooled. Of course, the liquid-cooled a little bit more power than the air-cooled 40cc mini moto that he runs in the AC40 Pros, swapping from those bikes all season long and being really, really consistent at the top. He says his target before the end of the season is to try and get a clean sweep and try and get 6 wins in a weekend, and all 3 wins in all 3 categories, which would be incredibly, incredibly impressive. But we'll be seeing him out on circuit a little bit later on for both the AC40 Pros and the LC40 Elites. But out on circuit now, it is the Extreme 200s. They're going out for their second qualifying session of the day. They've already had one earlier on in qualifying 1, and it's going to be looking like it's going to be a really, really competitive one. We've got a number of names out there, like Jamie King will be out there in the Moto team. Of course, we need to remember that this weekend the Extreme 200s and the Moto teams will be going out together on circuit. Previously we've seen Moto team have their own category, always makes for great racing, but this weekend in with the Extreme 200s.
Yeah, and in fact they've been in with them for a few races, and it's worked really nicely. There's been some fantastic battles between these Extremes and the Moto teams. Even though the Moto team bikes are a little bit lower in power, they're so wide it makes it difficult for these guys on these Extremes to find a way around. But of course those Extreme bikes, you could run them over pretty much any sort of surface and almost up a direct vertical wall. They're that flexible and that manoeuvrable. So we'll see what the likes of James Dutton, Evan Belford, Jack Andrews, Dylan and Owen Mellor, they'll be out there on the Extremes. Of course, we've got the likes of Eden Katz will be out there as well. So it's great to see the Extremes back out in force on circuit. Currently it's the number 4 of James Dutton that's set the first timed lap of this one, and behind him Greg Marshall on the 19th for the rider from Harrogate. But in Quali 1, it was Casey O'Gorman. That's a name that you might recognise from the British Talent Cup. And Casey, he's currently got the provisional pole time of a 48.934. So that is the time to beat for everyone else.
Yeah, Casey, one of those riders, whatever bike you put him on, we're seeing him on screen now, whatever bike you put him on, he's fast. He's got those microlized Cresswell leathers still on that you'll be used to seeing from the Honda British Talent Cup. He's racking up points over there and really trying to close in the championship, where he's missed a few rounds with some big injuries that he'd sustained at Knock Hill earlier in the British Talent Cup season. But now he's looking strong. He'll be back out next weekend at Donington Park for the Honda British Talent Cup. But just doing a little bit of training here and getting some racecraft under his belt here for the FAB-Racing British Championships. Of course, one of the riders that has come up through the ranks and now is back at FAB, having a little bit of fun. Also keeping an eye out on his brother, Ollie O'Gorman, who's running in the AC40 Pros.
Yeah, and Ollie, who's yeah, exactly, just about. It's a bit rusty.
I've just upgraded him.
A bit rusty, yeah. Ollie, who's been getting quicker and quicker, he's definitely got a good mentor in Casey, and Casey, of course, with Shaky Burton as his mentor. So really, there's a lovely little stream of advice and mentorship through the O'Gormans and through, of course, Shaky Burton, who, if you know anything about Two Wheels, I'm sure everyone knows who that is, as Casey just off to the side there, just rolling into the pit lane, getting a few changes.
What's he looking at? He's looking at his lap times, or is that something to do with, I think, possibly something that's on the clutch side? Oh, that's his GoPro. He's adjusting his GoPro. He forgot to switch it on. That's probably what that is. We were trying to read into it, thinking there's some sort of technical thing going on, and he's just switching on the GoPro.
Yeah. Well, it's probably the only thing he's going to get wrong this weekend, you'd think. but Casey will be making his way back on circuit. In that last time around, he did go fastest in this qualifying session. He did a 49.875. In fact, that is around about a second slower than his fastest lap. So a little bit more time to go. So as James Dutton goes quickest in this session, 49.731. So James getting some good times, and he finished second in the quali session earlier on today. Of course, 2 qualifying sessions for these guys here in Fab Racing, and then they of course have 3 races throughout the weekend, 1 on a Saturday and 2 on a Sunday. So plenty of racing to come in, and we welcome you if you've just joined us from wherever you're watching around the world, whether of course you're tuning in for some 2-wheeled action, some 3-wheeled action, which you'll find from in the F1 Sidecars. You are joining Tristan Finocchiaro and myself, Gareth Hall, for all of the commentary, all of the weekend here from Ellough Park in East Anglia. And it is the Mototechniks round 6 of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championships. Make sure you get in touch with us and do all the good stuff you do on the socials. Of course, you can drop into the comments and like, share, subscribe, do all the stuff that everyone asks you to do of the socials. It really does help Fab out. Of course, if you want to get involved with Fab, you can join the grid for 2022. Make sure you go over to fabracing.co.uk, and everyone will, all the details you need to be are over there. And of course, you can get in touch with everyone behind the scenes who will be able to point you in the direction of how to get your bike in the paddock and on the grid.
And in case you're confused, it's not another battle for another championship between Evan Belford and Casey O'Gorman. Of course, those 2 title rivals over in the British Talent Cup, but Belford isn't here this weekend. He's just lent his transponder to Sullivan Mounsey, who's going round on circuit. Also will be going out in the MKGP 70s as well. Another British Talent Cup rider, but not Evan Belford. It was Sullivan Mounsey in 3rd place in this session currently, running on one of those 2-stroke machines that we see Will Howarth running. He's out there on circuit as well, but it's currently Casey O'Gorman who will take pole position as it stands with a 48.7 earlier on in Q1. They're a little bit off those times at the moment in Q2, 49.7. They're exactly a second away from the pole position time that was set earlier on. It's James Dutton that currently leads away, but it's Casey O'Gorman that leads overall on the in Q1 and Q2. But the number 4 of James Dutton is leading away, a second away from the current pole position time, but they'll be looking to try and bring those times down as the session goes on. We need to keep an eye out for the Moto teams as well. Of course, Jamie King is currently who's leading the way on that in 9th place currently in this session.
He is indeed, and Well, and then behind we've still got some of the other riders on Moto Team that will be making their way through. There's a couple of Moto Team. Of course, Jason Pugh out there on the 8. The man leading the way in the championship is currently just outside of the top 10. One of the riders has just made their way into the top 10 is Georgina Polden, and it's great to see Gina back on circuit. We saw her back at Clay Pigeon, and Tristan, that's a rider that people may be aware of.
Yeah, it was winning races back out at the Aprilia Super Teens a few years ago. Was in some of the races that I was racing in as well, and over in the Moto Star paddock as well, was pushing at the front of that championship as well. Then just sort of dipped off our radars a little bit, but is back here at FAB-Racing having a little bit of fun, and also supporting a few riders in the AC40 rookies as well.
I'm enjoying watching the Extreme 200s and the Moto Team. Of course, the Moto Team almost have GP-style looking bikes, the likes of Jason Pugh. And then you've got Ollie Horn, who's out there on his Extreme 200, which is also a GP-style looking bike. And then when it gets, when Ollie's just overtaken one of the larger Moto Team bikes, it's almost like he's a little ant just rolling past. It's like a miniature version. It's lovely.
I think he's running out there on his GP70. I might be wrong with that one, but it looks as if he is running out there on the same bike that he runs in the GP70s. Obviously, they do that for a little bit more track time, to get a little bit more tested, and a little bit more going on. But yeah, he's Ollie Horner on the number 70, going around there, 4th place at the moment in this session. Was 3rd earlier on, but currently running around that on that yellow number 70 that we're used to seeing over in the MK GP70s. Casey O'Gorman now, though, it is who's at the top of this session. He's gone ahead of James Dutton, who's currently on screen, the number 44, who we're used to seeing winning races earlier on in the season, but these times still slower than what they were setting in Q1.
Yeah, and Casey O'Gorman, in fact, with that last time around, is quicker than James Dutton's fastest time overall as well. So Casey just reaffirming that he's quite happy at the front of this one, and he's going to be using that skill that he learned here in Fab, of course, in the 70s, and then, of course, up in the British Talent Cup, which you can find over on Eurosport with the one and only Tristan Finocchiaro covering that one. So what's it been like watching these guys that have made their way through Fab and made their way up onto the national circuit?
Oh, brilliant. I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed seeing these guys make that step up, and it's brilliant to see the likes of Casey O'Gorman, Johnny Garnett, who we were watching last year. Loads of names. Pretty much every podium finisher has been a graduate from Fab-Racing this year. It's pretty much just an extension of Fab-Racing is the British Talent Cup. Popping wheelies as well is Casey O'Gorman. He's been trying that on his Honda in the BTC, and with somewhat moderate success.
You'll get there eventually. But yeah, well, Casey out there with 30 seconds left to go in this second and final qualifying session for the Extreme 200 Moto Team. It is Casey O'Gorman, who last time around, fastest lap of the session of 48.580, is quicker than what the time he set in Q1. So he's just improved his overall pole position. So Casey going even faster, with James Dutton still in 2nd position. Then you've got Sullivan Mounsey in 3rd, written as Evan Belford, but it is Sullivan Mounsey. Ollie Horner is currently in 4th, Georgina Polden in 5th, Greg Marshall, Felix Dorlin, Will Howarth, and it's great to see Will. I'm trying not to jinx him. Every time Will Howarth turns up, I always feel like we say he had bike issues, and he has bike issues. So I'm not going to say anything. Hopefully Will has a weekend. I'm not saying good or bad. I hope he has a weekend. Bernie Hook in 9th position, and Craig Holden in 10th. On the fence, on the wing.
But yeah, currently top Moto team in this session. Crossing over the sessions from Q1 and Q2 is looking a little bit complicated. But yeah, currently fastest out of the Moto team bikes in this one. I think he was fastest in Q1 as well, so looking good in that Moto team category. But it will be Casey O'Gorman who's going to line up on that pole position for the Extreme 200s ahead of James Dutton. Not Evan Belford in 3rd in this session. It's Sullivan Mounsey borrowing Evan Belford's transponder. So luckily we already knew that Evan wasn't going to turn up, otherwise that could have caught us out. No,
it's classic trying to catch out the commentators, isn't it? Waiting for us to go down, running around the paddock.
We would have figured it out anyway.
But yeah, so it will be Sullivan Mounsey, who we'll see in the 70s as well. Sullivan, who of course was having a chat with yourself and Philip Strofiak. earlier on in the weekend, and it was great to see Sullivan saying he's enjoying being back in the paddock, and the fact that he hadn't even raced in the 70s, so that's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, we managed to ambush them in the paddock. They tried to escape us, but we managed to get a word with both Philip and Sullivan Mounsey. But Sullivan, not shy of an interview. We interview him over in the British Talent Cup as well, and he's quite an easy person to interview. You just put a microphone in front of him and he starts talking, and he can definitely talk, can Sullivan Mounsey. But lovely kid is the number 44. Picked up a podium at Silverstone as well, which was brilliant to see. He was working hard all season to pick up that podium in the British Talent Cup, and finally got it done. And hopefully that'll open the floodgates for more podiums to come.
And how important is it for these riders to come through the FAB system to make their way up into the British Talent Cup and, of course, Red Bull rookies and over onto the European side?
Essential. Yeah, no, it's really important for to have a feeder series like this for them to be able to make their way up into the likes of the British Talent Cup and all sorts of stuff like that. And there's plenty of opportunities for them to do more things. But the Premier Class here at FAB-Racing, their final step before they go on to the likes of the Talent Cup, Junior Supersport, Red Bull Rookies, European Talent Cup, Spain, whatever it is, this is the final step, the MKGP 70s. And the ones to watch out in this session and in this championship are those top three: Ethan Sparks, Mason Foster and Filip Sorovic. They've been sharing the spoils pretty much in the MKGP 70s last year, but a championship we thought was going to go all the way of Ethan Sparks hasn't been quite the script for the last few rounds.
No, Ethan, who's only picked up one win in the last 6 races. So it's only since the first race of Clay Pigeon 2 rounds ago that he stood on the top step. Since then, he's had to play second fiddle to the likes of Mason Foster and Filip Sorovic. And Filip Sorovic, who was the king of Raura after breaking his wind duck that had just been hampering him the entire season. He finally picked up that first win at Raura, and then as soon as he picked up the first one, of course, as it always happens, he won race 2 as well. So added 2 wins to his tally on the season. Mason Foster just managed to hold on for race 3 at Raura. So they go 2 for 1, and unfortunately Ethan just had to finish in 2/3 and a second for him, with Mason Foster having an issue in race 2. And that really...
and that's Ethan Sparks has just crashed. That's unfortunate for Ethan Sparks. It doesn't look like there's too much damage. You should be able to just pick that up and get going again. But when you're a little lad like Ethan Sparks, not the easiest thing to pick it up. We'll see how he does. Yeah, he's up. That's all right.
There we go. Leg day for Ethan Sparks, yeah.
But they're not the heaviest of bikes, these are they?
Oh, don't play it down like that. But it's great to see Ethan back up on his feet. I'm sure he'll get that bike back underway, and well, does that knock the confidence in a round that he really needs to start picking up some wins?
It can do. It definitely can do. But I mean, I've had plenty of experience with it, and I just get up, brush it off, and go. But not some riders. It does play detriment in the head. But I think Ethan, it was only a small one, no injuries or anything, so it should be okay. That shouldn't affect his mentality.
There's plenty of time left to go in the second qualifying session. Fastest around is Ronnie Harris. Ronnie Harris over 49.546 is still a way off Ethan Sparks' Q1 time of 48.366, and Mason Foster drops into second position now. Blake Russell in third. Mason Foster drops down to fourth, with Clayton Edmonds improving on that time, and Ronnie Harris improving as well, a 48.946 for him. So Ronnie going a little bit quicker. It's great to see Ronnie getting back up to pace here. He's maybe not had the season that he was hoping for. Of course, runner-up to Ethan Sparks in the 50s last season, and he's just been caught in that midfield battle this year.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't done badly at all. It's a very, very competitive field this year in the MKGP 70s, and he's been towards the front, definitely knocking on the door of podiums and battling it out with these guys. We've seen him latch onto the back of those that menacing top 3. And yeah, I mean, like I said, the depth of field this year has just been so strong, and there's been so many names and so many riders that have the potential to be on the podium, and the pace is so quick as well this year. The likes of Ronnie Harris has been doing extremely well. Of course, it's his rookie season in the GP70s as well. Moved up, graduated from the 50s from last year, and will possibly be looking for another year next year to consolidate what he's learnt this year and start looking for championship victory.
Yeah, and we know that a couple of the riders are staying and holding back, and a couple of riders are deciding to move up, so all will change come 2022. And of course Bill Harris, his younger brother, in the GP50s as well, so it's great to see the Harris family out in full force on the circuit, and Bill, who's almost been glued to Isaiah Devine in his racing, is great to see. Isaiah Devine in the 70s. He is in the 70s, there we go. But there's so many, I lose track. But
50s.
Yeah. We'll confirm, as we usually do. Once again, we have to flip from Moto. It's been a while. It's been 6 weeks since we were last here at FAB, and in that time, everyone's been out on holiday. We've, of course, seen Filip Żurawiak out testing himself in Poland on holiday.
Sorry to interrupt, Gareth. I can confirm Isaiah Devine is in the 50s.
There we go. I thought I was correct. Yeah. Tristan's glance over to me said you're wrong, and I started to double.
You made me double check and double think.
But Filip Żurawiak out testing in Poland whilst he was on his 6-week break, and he just doesn't seem to ever be off a bike. He's always out there, and he's got big plans for the future, hasn't he, Philip?
Yeah, and I love watching him. I love watching his style. If you watch him down into turn 1, he's got a really nice style hanging off the bike, very European-esque Spanish or Italian sort of style, where he's got those elbows out and looks really, really nice and tidy on the bike. The bottom half as well, facing the right direction, and he's wrapping it round the side of the bike, and looks really good. Looks really, really strong, and looks like a rider that can take it out to the likes of World Championship if given the right opportunity. It's been brilliant to see his progression this year and him fighting and finally getting that first win. Unfortunately, I wasn't there for that one. I had to watch that from back at the media centre over at BSB. And don't tell our producer Lester, but I did almost get kicked out of the media centre for shouting at my phone when he won that race.
Well, it was. I almost lost my voice. I was so excited for him. It's great to see. He ended up on a local Polish news station back in. It was great to see an interview with him in the break. But over to the 88, Mason Foster. Yeah. Now, Mason. He's just quietly been going about his business this season, hasn't he? Picking up good results. He, of course, moved up into the 70s last season, finished third in the championship behind Johnny Garnes and Lucas Brown. But he was still competitive with Garnes and Brown, picking up race wins in that category, and he's just transformed himself into this season where he's really stepped it up another gear and fighting at the front of his championship.
Yeah, that's exactly how he does things. A really, really nice little rider, and a really nice little work ethic he's got going on. Just sticks to his guns, and we see him always at the front. Has really put a charge on the last couple of rounds to be closing down that championship lead. It's only 10 points now at the top of this championship, and he's had a bit of a. He's had a consistent season, but I think it's safe to say a little bit up and down. A couple of times where a couple of hurdles that he's had to pass, he's had to jump over on that number 88 machine. He missed out on pre-season practice and training as his mum was shielding due to COVID. But even so, still came really, really strong at the bringing. He won on his debut, if we remember back to 2020 at Lid. It was his first round on the GP70 and won straight away. It was in the wet, but still really incredible maturity from Mason.
Yeah, and he's always in the mix of that battle for the front, and it's great. It's been great to say he's sort of, I'd say, the form man coming into this one. If he didn't have the issue on the bike back at Rower in race 2, he's not finished lower than second for the last 8 races. So that shows you just where his mind's at right now. He knows that we're getting to the sharp end of the season. This is where you really need to be holding a consistency, because he's seen from last season what happens if you drop points. You can end up falling out of championship contention with just a few races left to go. But of course, he can't really let off the throttle too much, because Ethan and Philip are hot on his heels, and especially with that double point round coming up.
Yeah, he's very much the man on form, but with only 10 points in it, and with that double round coming up, anything can happen as well this weekend. It really could go any way. And Filip Żurawiak's only 20 points behind Ethan Sparks as well. So there's 10 points between Ethan and Mason, and another 10 points between Mason and Philip, and it really could go anyway between those top 3. You'd think in terms of form and in terms of number of wins that you'd be looking at Ethan and Mason, but it could even go the way with Philip Sorowiak. If he puts a real good shift on in these last couple of rounds, of course, with that last round being double points, it could completely change everything. So it's kept the championship completely wide open. It's safe to say it's within the top 3, but it could be any of those top 3. So the number 75 of Philip Sorowiak, who's currently on screen, like we said, looks really tidy, really nice little style, and really pushing on this weekend. Is at the top of the timesheets at the moment for Q2, but these times a little bit off what we saw earlier, not too far. 48.4 from Philip Sorowiak. It was a 48.3 earlier by Ethan Sparks, so it'll put him second place on the grid. It's a front row for Philip, but still a bit of time to go.
It does. So Philip coming into turn 1 here is Degner 1. Of course, Degner, you'd recognise that from Suzuka if you are used to your circuits, and he makes his way round Degner 1 in towards the long sweeping bend at Shoemakers, and then up to Hume's Hairpin. And Hume's Hairpin, this is where you'll see overtakes made. We saw a lot made last season, taking a tight line and running down towards O'Rossi. And this one is just a bit of a jink into a left and then into a very tricky, you're almost coming off the throttle straight onto the dogleg hairpin at Barney's Bend. And Philip just chasing down Ronnie Harris here on his quali lap down towards Alan Wone's hairpin. And there's a lot of runoff area, and once again that's another flashpoint for overtaking we're expecting to see this weekend. Into Mini Rossi and onto the final corner, and it's the Pennell Straight, and the Pennell Straight takes you across the finish line, and checker flag is out for the GP70s.
Yeah, and that is it for the MKGP70s. Philip Sorowiak is then who tops the session as they all get their practice starts done and underway. Philip Sorowiak tops the session, but it's Ethan Sparks who's going to line up on pole position ahead of Philip Sorowiak, and that third spot looks as if it's going to go the way of Ronnie Harris with a 48.8.
Yeah, so time's incredibly close, incredibly consistent between the two sessions as well. So good to see that Philip Sorowiak, the young man from Morden, and Mason Foster, Telford, and of course Ethan Sparks from Maidstone in Kent, as they all line up. That's a big lift of the front tyre.
Don't want to do that in the race.
No, absolutely not. That was a huge lift of the front tyre for the A bike there, and it's I love watching the 70s. They've been such a good watch all season long, and like you said, you've been watching from your phone from the media centres around in the BSB paddock, and it's definitely a must-watch category.
Yeah, it's the Premier Class. It's the main focus for all the FAB-Racing junior riders. It's where they want to make it to before they make their way onto the big tracks in the likes of the British Championships and the likes of the World Championships. It's the final step. So and it's brilliant to have such a depth of field this year, and so many names and so many riders in there, so close together, and it's really, really close at the top. So much can happen as well here at Ellough Park, and of course at the next round, the final round, which will be double points. So all these riders walking back to their tents and to their slots in the paddock. Can't ride their bikes back, have to walk them back. But all these guys will be ready for their race later on.
Yeah, and obviously just talking about the double round that we've got coming up in 2 weeks' time. It's a little bit of a twist, isn't it? Because Llandau they've not been there before. At least a lot of these riders won't have been there for a few years. You don't get to test at Llandau, and unfortunately the round was cancelled last year. The round earlier this season was cancelled, so it's been a while, and a double point weekend, so it could really throw up a few possibly shock results.
Yeah, we've been teased a little bit with Llandau, haven't we? Because like you say, we were meant to go there last year. We were meant to go there earlier in the season, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be, and it'll definitely throw something in terms of the championship, and it'll definitely be an interesting one, because like you say, all these guys or a lot of these guys won't have been there. Some of the rookies in some of the categories may have never been there at all as well, so it's definitely be an interesting one. Over in Wales, you never know what the weather's going to do either, so it's definitely going to be one to watch out for as well. But now we've got the sidecars on circuit, and the first time we've seen the sidecars here at Ellough Park.
Yeah, and I was talking to a couple of the riders and the passengers back at Rowra after I was a very fortunate passenger on John Hosker and Adrian Ems's bikes. Unfortunately,
unfortunate victim.
Unfortunately, John Hosker, we flooded his engine due to the fact that it was raining so hard. They'd just come out of their race, and we went for it. He just gunned it, and unfortunately, it just flushed a load of water.
Did you not sabotage it on purpose?
Why? I was having too much fun. I just thought, stop, please stop. No, but obviously a huge thanks to John Hosker, who's taken both Tristan and I out over the last 2 years, and Adrian Ems, who so much respect for Claire Ems, because that bike is not easy to be a passenger on. It's so bulky, and it's not the same as. And this is why I love Belt. I was walking through the paddock and I was talking to them all afterwards. Is that almost every single of these bikes are built differently. They've got different frames, different way that the riders and the passengers sit, and the way they ride the bikes, and how they move around it. And John, on his 127, it's a very flat plate, whereas compared to Adrian Ems, like I said, it's very boxed in. Claire has to really lean over to get some purchase, and even then, you're pulling your hand into effectively where the tyre is, and that's a big tyre lift there for Keats, John Keats, who on the 89, who's it's been like it's a knockout this year with them, hasn't it?
Yeah, he's trying to eliminate that third wheel and just be completely two-wheeled, forgetting that third wheel needs to stay on the ground. A little bit of a rocky season so far for John Keats. Had a couple of big moments back out at Red Lodge, and a scary incident as well, and looking very, very animated currently on circuit. You see how much the passengers leaning off there. Really, really impressive to see.
And
111.
The 111 is Kyle Masters, who's luckily another new bike. I don't believe we've seen the 111 this season, so it's great to see Kyle Masters, the rider pair from Benfleet, and John Keats making his way around the final corner, and on three wheels, which is good to see. And this is an interesting one, because it is a tricky circuit for these sidecars, isn't it? Because the passenger, I mean, we've talked about how key the passenger is so many times. Every time they're out, we say the passenger is as important as the rider. We've seen, for the 89, that if you don't have a passenger, the back end just switches around you and you end up in the wall. But especially into the second half of this lap, you start to get these hairpin sections, very quick turns. These passengers are going to be coming off absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, just watch how much effort they put in. Just look at that through there. Head almost on the floor around the right hand. There's a little bit of a bobble, and has gone a little bit wide there. Not what he would have wanted through there at that point, but you can just see how much work goes into being a passenger on one of these things. Like I say, head almost on the floor, putting all effort into it, and you don't realise how physical these things are until you get on one. And in case you didn't know, Gareth has been on one.
Yeah, Tristan and I, luckily we've both had the opportunity of going out one. So the upgrade surely is one of us is the rider and one of us is the passenger.
I don't think that's going to end.
I reckon.
Well.
We've got the skills together. We've talked about the fact that we should have our own Moto team class and go out and just share advice. I mean, I'll do one lap and fall off, and then you can swap on and probably catch up and go on to win the race. But yeah, these guys, it really does, after having a go. And if you ever get an opportunity, and I know a lot of these riders, these guys on the sidecars, they often do charity rides. So if you get an opportunity to go out and have a passenger ride on a sidecar, really do take it up. It is a fantastic experience. And with 5 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in this session, it is the 26, who else but Mick Williams and Michael Elms, leading away with a 57.876. Jason and Leo Greenstreet on the 90 machine in second position. And hopefully they've been home, because I was talking to the Greenstreets after an hour, and they said basically they've been on holiday for the last few weeks or so. They left Clay Pigeon and went to the New Forest, went up to Rara, and they were going off into the lakes for a couple of weeks. So it's been a nice summer for them.
Nice little bit of travelling for them. It's nice, enjoying life and going and enjoying a little bit of racing, as well as the number 26 of Mick Williams drifts round the hairpin. Always really impressive to watch them going around. Always some sideways action from them, and always obliterating the field as well, but not, I was about to say, not too far in front, but he just extends the lead out the front even further, and now is 2 seconds faster than Jason and Leo Greenstreet. Those pairings, well, had been a little bit on the worst side of luck.
Yes, it is. It's a tricky category, and not everyone always gets it right. But 4 minutes, just over 4 minutes left to go in this one. As you can see, the 26 machine just having a cruise like they're probably just giving the passenger a little bit of respite, because it is, as you say, an incredibly physical thing to do here, and it's a tricky circuit. And in fact, it's probably not going to help with the fact that the wind seems to be picking up as well. They'll be getting buffeted around as they're getting into the braking points, and it definitely wears you out. You're effectively putting your hand into the gap where the right hand side tyre is when you're leaning over, and then when you're leaning outside, you've got both hands onto a rail that is usually a little bit slippery, and well, effectively you're using your backside to hold yourself onto the ground. But well, the green sheets, as they come down to Wone's hairpin, they are out there just pushing and just seeing if they can get any more lap time out of their current 59.563, and well, plenty of time for them to go out and improve. We've got a couple of have dived into the pit lane, so it looks as like we've just got the green streets that are going out and getting some extra practice time here. And well, we've got racing coming up soon, haven't we? We've got the AC40 Pros, we've got the AC40 Rookies, of course, mini moto action coming up. Archie O'Brien, who will be out there on the Pro bike, he's having a season to remember, looking at wrapping up a double category win in both the ACs and the LCs, of course, something that we've seen multiple riders do in the past, and it's definitely a category that Archie's had. Well, he's been leading from the front and effectively just needs to maintain that gap to come to the end of the season.
Yeah, that's going to be our first race of the day, and that's going to be really, really exciting stuff to see what Archie O'Brien can do. Was saying going into the weekend that he thought he could win it this weekend, but now with that announcement that there is going to be double points at the next round at Clandau, that completely changes everything, and he's going to be still going to be looking to rack up the points anyway, just do his best. All he can do is focus on race by race here at the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championships. But mini bikes also includes mini sidecars, and these mini F1 sidecars, only one currently out on circuit. All the others have packed up early and gone for a quick rest at the side of the circuit. Yeah, possibly just thinking they're not going to go any quicker, so might as well come in for a little bit. But the sun's come out now, and Jason and Leo Greenstreet trying everything to try and reduce that gap in time down to the number 26 of Mick Williams and Michael Elms on that incredibly dominant outfit.
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure, if you're ready, to go get yourself a drink and settle down for 9 incredibly sensational races coming up with the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship. It is the Mototechniks round 6 from Ellough Park at East Anglia, right over the east coast of England. It is a lovely part of the world, and come grab yourself some local fish and chips like we did last night, and I finally managed to get some after travelling around this country, going to all these coastal races.
You've been eager to get some fish and chips in these rounds, haven't you?
You can't get better.
We've been denied by KFC
every time. The menu choices as a commentator are limited, and luckily I managed to convince everyone last night. But well, you've got time before we go to the AC40 Pros, and then of course plenty of racing to come before of course we go racing tomorrow. So thank you very much for everyone, whether you're joining us at home, whether you're here in a paddock, or wherever you are around the world. Thank you for joining the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship. My name is Gareth Hall. I've been joined by Tristan Finocchiaro, and we'll be bringing you all of the action throughout the weekend here from Ellough for what is set to be, once again, a brilliant weekend's action with, of course, you can be listening over on motorsport.radio with FAB-Racing over on their Facebook page, and of course you can listen on, where are we streaming? The most obscure Russian streaming sites, VK and Trovo.
Somewhere in China as well.
Yeah, they're all going to find us. We're going to be speaking in a foreign language, but they're going to be enjoying some great racing that is. And of course, if you are watching over on the socials, make sure you drop into the comments, let us know who you're watching, who you're supporting, and where you're watching from and around the world, because we often find that we've got people in Australia, we've had people from the Netherlands, over in the Caribbean watching, and America, and there's a practice start for the green streets there.
Start looks good.
Well, if you've got a clean track, you might as well.
Yeah, the only bike or outfit out on circuit and trying out that practice start, and we've seen a couple of dodgy starts from them earlier in the season. So it's a good thing that they're getting that practice in. That looked solid, looked all right.
Yeah, you've just got to do it after the red lights go out, which is something I think they've been struggling with.
It's very different when there's other engines around and you've got that extra bit of engine noise. You can't hear what you can hear when you're on your own. So, it's a very different scenario. Obviously, pressure and nerves kicking in.
Well, because we're pros now, because we've done a couple of laps as a passenger.
We know everything about these
exactly
cars.
Exactly. So they make their way back into the box. Of course, the pit lane just on the exit of Barney's Bend here, rolling into the pit lane, and that concludes all of the qualifying sessions. So now, prepare yourselves. We're about to go racing, and it will be AC40 Pro action coming up very, very shortly. We're going to have the likes of Archie O'Brien. We're going to have the likes of Austin Johnson, Byron Johnson, and of course Finley Polhill, and plenty more making their way out on circuit and entertaining the masses as they always do on these mini motos. And mini motos, of course, these riders can start from age 6 and up. And they'll be getting out there on machines that, they're 40cc and be looking to make their way through. Of course, the pros are slightly wider restrictor plate on the exhaust compared to the rookies, and gives them a little bit more power. However, they still do a magnificent job, and they get themselves prepared to go up to the LC4 Elites, and of course the Metro kits, the GP50s and the GP70s. And what can we see from the likes of Austin Johnson, Byron Johnson, who I think is probably the quickest starter of everyone here at FAB. He just always seems to absolutely nail the red lights going off and the throttle pedal almost the throttle input.
I thought you said the throttle pin. Didn't even question it.
No, you shouldn't do. I'm all knowing, but no. So the throttle input and sending it. He's made up positions every single race in the last 6 races off the start. But it will be his older brother Austin lining up on the front row. Finley Polhill on the 199. Now Finley, we saw in the rookies last season, he believe it was at Clay Pigeon, ended up with an injury, came back, and he's almost like he's come back a completely new rider and is right up in the thick of it in the pros.
Yeah, Rauer I think it was, but like you say, picked up an injury last year and has really bounced back strong. And I was watching him out on circuit yesterday. He looks really, really confident and really comfortable on that AC40 Pro machine. So expect to see him fighting for podiums. 3rd place on the grid for Finley Polhill, and he's looking really menacing going into this race. So watch out for him, watch out for Archie O'Brien, watch out for the 2 Johnsons, like say Byron Johnson with those rocket starts that he gets. It probably helps that he's quite small and light on these little bikes, but then again, a lot of these riders aren't they? Yeah,
of course, from 6 years and older. And they'll be on these 40cc engines throughout this AC40 Pro category before they move up to the liquid-cooled LC40 Elites. And, thank you for joining us. This is the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship Mototechniks 6th round of the season from Ellough Park. Of course, FAB, an official partner of the British Superbikes and part of Dorna's Road to MotoGP programme as we look for the next British motorcycling racing star. Of course, FAB has been the starting point for the likes of Scott Redding, Brad Ray, Danny Ken, and many more, of course. Even if you look to the British Talent Cup now, it is filled with ex-FAB graduates all throughout the field, from Casey O'Gorman to Holly Harris, from Evan Belford to Lucas Brown, plenty more, and that's just listing a few. And these riders in the AC40 Pros will be hoping at doing the same in a few years' time, but it will be Archie O'Brien, the 91, on pole position in this one. A time of 53.570 was fast enough for pole, a 10th of a second faster than Austin Johnson in 2nd, Finley Polhill in 3rd, with Byron Johnson in 4th, with Lewis Hull in 5th, Wilson Dilks in 6th, Sam Gardner 7th, and Callum Maxwell on the 111, rounding out the grid in 8th position on row 4. Now, we spoke to Archie earlier on in the weekend, Tristan, and we said, is it about wins or is it about just being consistent and picking up points? And he was pretty coy. He said, I just need to be calm and I'll just do my thing. Yeah, I mean, he was saying that he just needs to take things race by race, which is true. He does just focus on one race at a time. We've seen, he's incredibly consistent, incredibly consistent, and when he gets out there into his groove, and once he's settled and like we say, got his into his groove and got his pace down, then he's really a force to be reckoned with, and it's really difficult to be able to stay with him, because he's just so consistent once he gets that pace. And once someone unrattles him, he sometimes does make a mistake, but we'll have to see what happens, see if the likes of the 2 Johnsons or Finley Polhill can get underneath the skin of Archie O'Brien as they look to the lights for the first time this weekend here at round 6 for the Ellough Park Mototechniks round 6 of the FAB-Racing British
British Championships, it is Austin Johnson who's made his way up into the lead of the race, and Archie O'Brien, not the start he wanted at all.
No, not at all. And in fact, Finley Polhill has made a really good run, and he's looking at making a move on Austin Johnson going up in towards Hume's hairpin, but can Austin hold on to the lead? He can. So it's been a good start from the man that started in second position. Austin Johnson on the 27th. Finley Polhill from third on the grid now finds himself in second, and behind you can see Byron Johnson has jumped Archie O'Brien. So Archie, with some work to do in this opening lap, has dropped from the front row on pole position down to fourth place now, and Austin leads them in towards Warren's hairpin for the first time, now up in towards Rossi, and well, it's been a good start for both the Johnsons, and in fact Archie O'Brien gets down the inside of Byron Johnson and back up into third position. So making up for lost time is Archie O'Brien. Now he's got to chase down the back of Finley Polhill, and you can see the gap over the line between Polhill and O'Brien was around about 7/10 of a second.
And he's got a little bit of ground to make up, has Archie O'Brien, of course, your championship leader in the AC40 Pros, but a few battles a little bit further back as well. Lewis Hull making moves up the inside, but it's Austin Johnson who's leading away at the front ahead of Archie O'Brien, and Finley Polhill in there as well. Archie O'Brien now up to third. Is he going to make a move on Finley Polhill here? Not just yet, because there's a chance of him down at the hairpin as well, but he doesn't need to rush things, he just needs to score points. He makes a move there, really nicely timed, really nicely done. Just took the line away from Finley Polhill. That's exactly what he needs to be doing, but it is now Austin Johnson in the lead of this race. What can Archie O'Brien do? Can he reel in that gap?
Fastest lap of the race goes to Austin Johnson, immediately then go over to Archie O'Brien. So Archie back on the charge after losing the lead off the line. 7 laps left to go in this AC40 Pro race, the first race of the weekend here at the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championship Round 6 Mototechniks, and it is Austin Johnson leading away from Archie O'Brien. Finley Polhill now in third position. Byron Johnson is in a battle with Wilson Dilks and Lewis Hull over fourth position, and Byron with the pair of Wilson and Lewis behind by around about 6/10 of a second on that last lap. And Byron is he's got his hands full because he wants to try and close in on the likes of Finley Polhill, but at the moment Wilson Dilks is definitely keeping him honest. In fact, Wilson gets a slightly better run there through the dogleg hairpin down towards Warren's hairpin, but it is still Austin Johnson as he takes just a quick look and glance back there to see where Archie O'Brien was, and Archie's now right on his heels as they go down towards the first corner.
Yeah, the race is on now for the lead of this race, and you're going to have to think that once Archie O'Brien gets ahead of Austin Johnson, Austin's going to have to snap straight back at him to make sure he doesn't get into his rhythm and doesn't pull away like we've seen him do many times. There's been a change for a lead at the front, but we're looking at the number 37 of Byron Johnson, but now it is Archie O'Brien who's into the lead of the race as a whole, but there's a battle here as well between Johnson and Dilks. This is the battle for 4th and 5th that we're currently looking at on screen, and almost contact there as they just clash lines as going down into the corner there, but now it is Archie O'Brien, like we can see on screen, in the lead of this race, and that's the second place man down. So that is the number 27 of Austin Johnson, who's crashed out of this race. A small mistake, he's got back up and running, and he's going to want to be trying to making those positions up now. The pressure is all on Austin Johnson now, but all the pressure is off Archie O'Brien.
Yeah, that's a real shame for Austin Johnson. He was looking very strong. He was trying to recover that position that he'd lost to Archie O'Brien on that last lap, and it looks as though just a little bit too much entry speed and down the wide went. But he's back up in the race, and he's now trying to make a move on Wilson Dilks. It looks as though Austin's got the pace on his younger brother and Wilson. There we go, down the inside, but the door is shut in his face. But Austin looking racy. He's going to get the run down towards the O'Rossi corner, and he's going to sweep around. Can he get the move done? No, has to get out of the throttle. You can see the front wheel not really wanting to play ball there, but Austin looking very, very racy.
There we go, and just makes a move there. Just showed the front wheel and just managed to get up the inside. Lewis Hull, unfortunately, is out of the race, and that's the end of the race for Lewis Hull, so unfortunate for him. But back with the action, it is Austin and Byron now who are together, and this is the battle now for third place. It's the two Johnsons, third and fourth. So Byron with the black helmet in third, Austin with the red and white helmet in fourth, and Austin really got the pace this weekend, and he's going to be trying to make moves on his brother Byron. Austin was 10 years old going into this season on that Team Evolution Engineering bike. He's having a little look to the outside, not going to be able to make a move stick there. He's got a good drive and really good drive. You see the way he opened it up there and just got underneath his brother Byron. Timed that perfectly, just managed to get on the throttle exactly the right point, had a nice wide sweeping line going into it, and now is up into a podium position, and he's going to be looking to try and close down the number 199 of Finley Polhill, currently in second.
Yeah, Finley, the young rider from Watford in North London, he's in a bit of a lonely second position now, with Archie O'Brien starting to stretch that gap out at the front, and Archie, well, he had a poor start, but he's now got a 3.7 second advantage over Finley. The gap now between Finley and Austin Johnson is 3.4 seconds. You can see Finley with it. He needs to keep on the pace here. He might want to have to take it. Of course, when you're in a circuit like this where you've got multiple hairpins, it does give you the opportunity when you get around the hairpin to work out where the guys behind you are. So he will be able to see that Austin Johnson is slowly starting to catch him. In fact, I say that as Byron goes down the inside of Austin. So lovely move there from Byron, doing exactly what he did to his brother just 2 laps ago.
Doesn't want to be beaten by his brother Austin Johnson, so it's the two Johnsons fighting for that final step on the podium. Only 3 laps to go in this race. Well, a little bit less than that as we come round to the final stages of this lap. But it's Byron Johnson now who's leading that battle for third ahead of Austin. Don't count out Wilson Dilks, so he's still on the back of these guys and still in contention for a podium. It's Archie O'Brien who leads their way at the front now, 4.4 seconds ahead of Finley Polhill. Just 2 laps to go for these guys. Finley Polhill's looking confident in second and looking close, but they're side by side, and it's really close through there. He's got the inside line as Byron Johnson makes that move stick, and he keeps ahead of his brother Austin. But Austin having another little look up the inside. This battle between these two is just going to get hotter and hotter.
Yeah, what a fantastic fight from the pair of them. They are keeping it clean. Both of them not even wanting to give up this podium. Of course, they're fighting over third position, and Byron, well, he's picked up the last 2 wins in the AC40 Pros back at Rowra, so he's definitely a race winner here. Austin, of course, yet to pick up a better result than third on the season, so he wants to get up and get another podium to add to his name. But Byron making sure that he puts that bike in all the right places. Last lap flag is out in the AC40 Pro in their first race of the weekend. It's Archie O'Brien leading away now by 5.6 seconds in the infield section, and Archie, well, he maybe didn't have the start he was looking for. That's one thing that he'll be wanting to improve on in race 2 and race 3, but he's just got a few more corners to navigate to come back and make his way to the front. But Archie O'Brien with a huge advantage, 5.6 seconds he's going to have. It's getting bigger over Finley Polhill. Behind the battle is still raging for third position, but it is going to be Archie O'Brien rounding Wone's hairpin. Finley Polhill is going to come home in second position if all things go to plan, but it is the 91 coming up to the final corner, taking the checkered flag, and it's Archie O'Brien, your race winner here in the AC40 Pros. Finley Polhill in second position, and it's going to go down to the final corner. Austin Johnson finds a way past Byron Johnson and gets up into third position. It all went down to a final corner move, and Austin, that was a little bit of a bash there from against his brother. I'm sure Byron won't be too appreciative of that.
There were some big moves made on that last lap between Byron and Austin. A lot happened on that last lap between those two, so brilliant for us to be able to see that out just outside our window. But Archie O'Brien then it was who took the victory, 6.6 seconds ahead of Finley Polhill. Dominant force is the number 91 of Archie O'Brien, just beats Finley Polhill to that victory. Well, I say just 6.4 seconds, but manages to get the win. Austin Johnson just beats Byron on with some last lap drama, and Wilson Dilks could have had a podium there, was really close to the back of Byron towards the last lap, but just manages to pick up that top 5, so a good result from him also. And now Archie O'Brien extends that championship lead to even further ahead of Finley Polhill, another 5 points closer to that championship victory.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, can't seal the championship this weekend due to the fact that, of course, we're having the double points round at Llandau in South Wales in 2 weeks' time. However, he can almost guarantee himself an easy weekend in South Wales just needs to be picking up some wins and some good results this weekend, and he'll make it almost an impossible task. Of course, nothing is impossible until it's mathematically sure, and another rider that's looking to put himself mathematically sure is Oliver Hall, and Oliver, who is having a weekend where he is having it's been a tough week for Oliver. Unfortunately, he lost his uncle, and he's got a beautiful set of stickers on the front of the car. It's really lovely to see in bike. My apologies. I've just
put two of them next to each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just about. I was looking at a picture of a car at the time, but we've got the riders out there. Oliver with his uncle's name on the front of his bike, and equally a younger sister. He's now got this week named Ella after. We've got a small coincidence that he got his first podium at Ellough Park here last season.
Surely,
is it a coincidence?
Surely it's just a coincidence.
Yeah, we're going to get the X-Files out on that one. So surely it's not. But yeah, it's great to see the whole family there, and they'll be out with Oliver, and I'm sure very happy that he'll be lining up on pole position for this one. But the rookies, Tristan, it's a season. It's been great to see these rookies. They're having a championship this season. It's not a cup where if they get to a certain amount of points they are promoted up into the 40s. They're really given that consistency to race against the same people week for week.
Yeah, I mean, the idea behind the Cup was to make sure riders didn't stay around too long in the AC40 rookies, just to try and get a championship win, because that's what a lot of riders were doing before, as they get away for their warm-up lap. A lot of riders were sticking around and trying to make sure that they pick up some wins and staying around a little bit longer than FAB-Racing would have liked, so that was the idea of the Cup. But it just sort of dismantled the championship a little bit last year, with riders leaving halfway through the season. So it's good to have a championship back up and running here for the AC40 rookies.
Absolutely so, and on pole position will be Oliver Hall with Ollie O'Gorman, of course younger brother to Casey O'Gorman, who you'll see later on today. Bradley Curtis in third position with Rex Austin in fourth. Matthew Thomas in fifth with Beth Ashby in sixth. Of course, Beth Ashby being only the second ever race winner second ever female race winner in FAB-Racing back just a few short races ago. Holly Baker in seventh position with Speed Penegar in eighth. Jensen Bishop in 9th, Chloe Gleeson 10th, Annabelle McCarthy in 11th, with Josh Perkins in 12th. Row 12 is Safer Bacon Hayward and Peyton Richards, with Matthew Jennings, Taylor Tomlinson, Taylor Riley and Archie Cooper row from 15th to 18th. 19th is Daisy Polden and Sebastian Galowski in 20th, and Lucy Curtis and Oliver Wilson are your 22 riders on this AC40 rookie grid that is growing and growing with every race.
And that's brilliant to see loads of new names coming into the fold here at the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championships. Plenty of female names out on this grid as well, which is brilliant to see the next generation of motorcycle riders. And as one of the riders has a little bit of an off at the back of the grid and has to pick the bike up. Really easy to do. There's so much tension, so much to think about as you're coming up onto this grid, and sometimes it's easy to get caught out. We've seen it over in the even on MotoGP earlier in the year as well, with a crash coming onto the grid. But all these guys now, their focus will be on the first race of the weekend for the AC40 rookies. And who's it going to be that's going to take the whole shot this time? Oliver Hall has a look to his side and sees Ollie O'Gorman flying past him on the way down to turn one. Some moves being made all the way through the field. Big moves from the AC40 rookies, but it is Ollie O'Gorman, brother to Casey, who's made his way up into the lead. But Oliver Hall made his way up just underneath him now. So now it's Oliver Hall into the lead of this race. Ollie O'Gorman in second.
Yeah, good start there from Oliver, just managing to retake the position back from Ollie O'Gorman, and Oliver can now, well, he's back where he likes to be. He's at the front, he can focus forward, doesn't have to worry about making moves on anyone. It's purely on his own pace now. Can Ollie O'Gorman go with him? Because this has been the best quali result for Ollie O'Gorman so far in his FAB career, up on the front row of the grid. But can he stay with Oliver? We know that Oliver is incredibly consistent and tends to be at the front of this one unless his bike fails him. And well, he picked up 2 wins out of 3 back at Rara. Unfortunately, the bike failed him, and he ended up waving the checkered flag in race 3 at Rara. And he also picked a win in Clay Pigeon in race 3. So he's had a decent spell of luck as Oliver Hall, and he's now leading away by just under half a second to Ollie O'Gorman. Rex Austin in third, with Bradley Curtis and Matt Thomas your top 5 and 7 laps left to go.
So Oliver Hall is then that leads the fastest lap from a standing start, but it was Ollie O'Gorman who had that blistering start down into turn 1. But Oliver Hall then a 102.9 on the last lap from a standing start. Obviously expect those times to come down. A little bit of a moment there for your second place man, the number 87 of Ollie O'Gorman, of course brother to Casey, who you'll be used to seeing out at the British Talent Cup as well. And a big gaggle of riders here, loads of riders together, and plenty of moves that can be made here. Zach Speed Penegar's in there as well in 7th. But this is the battle for 4th, I believe it is, with Curtis fronting this one.
Yeah, and Brad Curtis, who's been very impressive since his introduction into FAB, really starting to impose himself towards the front end of this rookie championship. Definitely a rider to watch over the next few years. And the likes of Matthew Thomas as well, Speed Penegar and Rex Austin have all been up the sharp end of this one. And behind the likes of Harley Baker, Beth Ashby, Annabelle McCarthy, they've been up for fighting in that sort of top 8 echelon of the grid. And well, the rookies, they're out there doing their thing. We've got 6 laps left to go in this one. It's Oliver Hall leading away by 1.2 seconds to Ollie O'Gorman. Rex Austin now in 3rd position. Matthew Thomas getting past Bradley Curtis in that last lap, and Speed Penegar trying to find a way past both of them. And Speed, after coming off the back of a broken collarbone at Rowra, he's had 6 weeks to recuperate, and he's back on the bike. And he was saying to you that he came and joined me for commentary. It was an absolute blast and fantastic. Such a golden kid to have alongside me. But he said he much prefers being on the bike.
Yeah, we asked him if he wanted a career in commentating or if that was an option for him, and his response was literally nah. Which is well, to be fair, if I had made it as a rider, I probably wouldn't be wanting a career in commenting. However, we are here to make sure that the likes of Speed and of course Oliver, Ollie, Rexos, and plenty of course everyone, these 22 riders in this AC40 rookie category, get the best opportunities they can and showcase what is always brilliant racing. But it is Oliver Hall leading away now by 2.5 seconds. He's extending that gap lap for lap now. Last time around, fastest lap of the race, just a smidge over the 60-second mark, 1 minute 2:36, and well, behind Ollie O'Gorman, a 1:01. So you can see Oliver just starting to put the power down now and moving away from that battle for the lead. And Ollie O'Gorman is pretty comfortable second position at the moment. Of course, you don't want to say that anything's for certain. Of course, it never is in racing, but looking pretty on the upper side this weekend is Ollie. Much better weekend from what we've seen from him so far. Yeah, I mean, he started off the season really strong, picking up those wins and looking really dominant at Lid, and then there was a big gap between Lid, which was rounds 1 and 2, and round 3 at Red Lodge. There was a big gap between that, which gave a lot of chance for a lot of these riders to get the practice in and keep improving themselves. Of course, all these guys learning every lap, every corner, because it's very much the very beginning of their racing careers. So the more time they have to get some track time under their belts, the faster they're going to improve. And he just got caught out a little bit by that in the mid-season. He didn't have bad results by any means, but we expected him to be a little bit more dominant and a little bit more consistent with his wins. But he's at the front of this race now, 4.6 seconds ahead of anyone else. Really consistent with his lap times and riding extremely well. Of course, this weekend, a very special weekend for him.
Yeah, it is indeed. And well, he's going out there and doing exactly what he wanted to do, and that's leading from the front and hoping to have a decent result come the end of this one. And of course, he is aiming for that championship. He may not be able to reach it this weekend, however, surely if he keeps on picking up results like you're seeing with his current pace, then it's just a matter of time until Oliver Hall becomes your AC40 Rookies champion. But Ollie O'Gorman, he's still in second position, still having a good run, but dropping a little bit of time in that last lap to Oliver, who's putting in some sensationally consistent laps. Oliver's last 3 laps have been within 0.2 of a second of each other, but Ollie O'Gorman back in second position. Really solid run for Ollie. And how important do you reckon it is for Ollie to have someone like Casey as your older brother that is almost a benchmark for you?
Oh, it helps. Yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, we've seen on social media that Casey's been helping Ollie quite a bit, showing him lines around circuits. And there was even a video going round. I don't know if you've seen it, Gareth. It was really entertaining with Casey going around with Ollie on the back of his bike, just as pillion on his bike, and Casey wasn't holding back. He was completely gunning for it with Ollie on the back, and Ollie was leading off as well, and it was really, really good to see. And that's also good training for him. It gets him seeing what Casey's lines are like, and feeling the speed and the amount of corner speed that Casey's carrying, and all that help that Casey can be giving him will be helping, of course.
Yeah, and he's currently in second position, and with 2 laps left to go, there is about to become 1 as Oliver's rounding his way around this penultimate lap. And the number 3 leading away now by a huge margin, 7.4 seconds over Ollie O'Gorman. Rex Austin still holding on to 3rd position, but Matthew Thomas is now right on his tail, 0.4 of a second last time around. And so the pair of them are battling out over that podium. Harley Baker in 5th position has made his way back past Brad Curtis. Speed Penegar now up into 7th position. Beth Ashby, Annabelle McCarthy, now Chloe Gleeson making her way up into the top 10. It's great to see Chloe having a good run this weekend as well. She ended up on the podium back in Rara, I believe. In 3rd position. So good podium for Chloe back in race 2 at Rara. But on to the final lap comes the number 3 of Oliver Hall, leading away. It was 7.3 across the line last time around. It's now 8.2. So Oliver has just got to navigate his way around this Ellough Park circuit in East Anglia, right over the east of the UK, under the sunshine. And he got jumped off the line, but took the position back, and he's got a little bit of traffic up ahead of him, so perhaps doesn't need to make any silly lunges, or does, and he can just hold by and wait for these guys. He's not going to lose too much time as he makes his way up behind the 12 bike there. But it's been a brilliant race here for Oliver. He's just been calm and collected, hasn't pushed too hard. He's done exactly what he needed to.
And carves his way through nicely on that lapped traffic, and has done exactly what he needed to do. Didn't lose too much time. He can afford to lose time anyway. He's 8.2 seconds, or was 8.2 seconds front of the rest last time round, and possibly even extended that advantage as he comes round to take the checkered flag. And it is Oliver Hall that takes the first win of the weekend for the AC40 rookies. A brilliant result for him, a special weekend for him, and he'll be dedicating that to his uncle that he unfortunately lost previous to this weekend. It's Ollie O'Gorman though who's going to pick up that 2nd place, and Rex Austin rounds out your podium for race 1 for the AC40 rookies. Battles all the way through the race as we see all these guys battling for the positions a little bit further down, and drags to the line as well. So really impressive stuff from the AC40 rookies. Oliver Hall though, 10.2 seconds ahead of Ollie O'Gorman.
Yeah, great result there for Oliver Hall, Ollie O'Gorman and Rex Austin. They are your podium in the first race of the weekend for the AC40 rookies. They will be back out for 2 races tomorrow, race 2 and race 3. So make sure you tune in on Sunday for plenty more mini moto racing from the first category, the opening category, here at FAB. This is the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championships Round 6 Mototechniks from Ellough Park. My name is Gareth Hall. I'm being joined by Tristan Finocchiaro as we bring you all the coverage here on motorsport.radio. Of course, motorsport.radio, the world's only 24/7 live motorsport radio dedicated radio station with all things from 2 wheels to 4 and beyond. And of course, you can listen to the likes of BSB Radio on Motorsport Radio as well, where you can find out all the goings on from the graduates of FAB. Of course, FAB, the part of an official partner to the BSB, and of course part of Dorna's Road to MotoGP. All these riders here looking at making their way up in towards the BSB paddock and beyond, wanting to be that next person on that world and European and world stage on a GP bike, which is something that the UK desperately needs.
Absolutely. So I mean, we've seen lots of success for riders over in the world stage. FAB-Racing graduates, the likes of Scott Redding, Danny Kent, who've both had lots of success over there, and plenty of other names as well. There's just so many, like we say, so desperately need. We've had some riders doing well over in some of the junior championships. The likes of Scott Ogden doing really well, and it's going to be really interesting to see what he can do as he progresses onto the world stage next year, onto Moto 3, and hopefully we can have a few more names making it up there, and hopefully some of these names as we graduate from the AC40 rookies to the LC40 AC40 Elite. Similar names you see in this than you see to the AC40 Pros. A lot of the same riders, but running on slightly faster Minimoto machinery, liquid-cooled 40cc two-stroke bikes as opposed to air-cooled. A little bit more power underneath them, and they'll be able to cope with that.
They will. And you'll see the likes of Archie O'Brien, you'll see the likes of the Johnson brothers that we saw back out in the AC40 Pros. However, this time around, we've got the addition of the number 3 of Archie Gibbs. And Archie O'Brien, they've been neck and neck all season in this championship. Archie O'Brien just having the edge over Archie Gibbs, but it is close, and it can still be Archie Gibbs' championship. 34 points was the gap coming into this weekend's racing in the championship. Luke Fidget back in third position in that one, but it will be Archie O'Brien on pole position with Archie Gibbs in second, Austin Johnson in third with Luke Fidget in fourth, Finley Polhill and Byron Johnson in fifth and sixth position. Seventh goes to Sam Gardner, and eighth is Callum Maxwell, rounding out row 4 in this 8-bike grid in the LC40 Elites.
Going to be really interesting to see what happens in this one with this battle for the championship between the two Archies hotting up really, really nicely, and plenty of names in the field that are going to be looking to get the better of the two Archies, the likes of Austin Johnson, Luke Fidget. Austin is going to be looking to try and recover from that mistake he made earlier on in the AC40 Pros as he was trying to follow the dominant force of Archie O'Brien. Unfortunately crashed out at the hairpin that we're looking at right now, and had to regain to jump back on. Picked up third, so he'll be elated with that, but I think he'll be wanting a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely so let's see what Archie can do from pole. Of course, lost a few positions in the ACs. We'll see if he's perhaps a little bit quicker off the line this summer. You can see already legs splayed apart. Completely different style of start compared to Archie Gibbs, where his legs very close to the bike, but they're getting ready to take the start. LC40 Elites, race 1 is Archie O'Brien versus Archie Gibbs off the line as they get ready to look to the lights. Lights on, pause, lights off, and it's a good start there from Archie Gibbs, but it's a better start from Archie O'Brien as he sweeps around the outside. In fact, Austin Johnson getting the run on Archie Gibbs into second position. Can Archie Gibbs get down the inside back into Shoemakers at the back on this first lap? He does. So the man that starts in second position holds on to P2 for now. Austin Johnson's going to have to find his way back into third. Byron Johnson now in fourth position, so it's a good start for the Johnson brothers, but it is Archie O'Brien, your pole setter, leading away.
He's a good starter, is Austin Johnson, and we saw that he got a good getaway off the line, good reaction times, but Archie O'Brien really got a solid start, and that contrasting style really worked for him off of the line as there's moves being made. Is a really brilliant move there from the all-orange number 199 of Finley Polhill round the outside of Luke Fidget at the dogleg hairpin. Really nice move from him as Luke Fidget tries to bike back up the inside into the mini Rossi corner, now onto the front straight, onto the panel straight, and it is Archie O'Brien that leads Archie Gibbs, not letting him get away here. A little bit of breathing space, 0.6 of a second is the gap between O'Brien and Gibbs across the line. Gibbs had the fastest lap off of a standing start, so Gibbs looking really menacing.
He is indeed, and so can he get within that 0.6 of a second he's got, or will Archie O'Brien just keeping at arm's length? But the pair of them are starting to break away from Austin Johnson in third position. Byron now with Finley Polhill and with Luke Fidget swarming over the back of him. Luke Fidget 0.006 of a second behind Finley Polhill as they came across the line on the previous lap. But breaking away is the leading pair, the leading Archies, Archie O'Brien versus Archie Gibbs. As we said before the race, these two have been glued to each other for the majority of this season, and they're now leading already by a huge margin. It's 5 seconds that they've got over Austin Johnson. Byron Johnson now in fourth position. Luke Fidget has moved back up ahead of Finley Polhill, so Luke now only 0.07 of a second behind Byron Johnson across the line last time around. So they're all trying to find their way around each other as Luke tries to look to the inside into Shoemakers. Can't quite get the move done, but Luke, who of course started the season in brilliant form, was on the podium in every race bar one for the opening 9 races. Unfortunately, injury to his arm and to his wrist in Clay Pigeon has put him out, and since then he's not really had the rub of the green, but you can see he's right up there, and in fact sends it down the inside of Byron Johnson, gets the move done. Now Byron, can he get the cutback going down in towards Wone's hairpin? It looks as though Luke might just cover off that apex and hold him off, hold the line, but he does. So Luke Fidget now back up into position. They can now try and close in on Austin Johnson, but Byron not giving up as they sweep around the final corner. But it is Archie O'Brien now leading from Archie Gibbs. Their gap now extending by 0.3, just under a second.
O'Brien responds to that first fastest lap of the race off of a standing start it was from Archie Gibbs, and now Archie O'Brien has set the fastest lap of the race 2 times running with a 52.3 on that last lap. He's extended his lead up to 0.9 of a second. What will it be the next time across the line? He goes down into the dogleg hairpin, and now going to come down towards the hairpin, and he's just covering his line really, really nicely. Really nice smooth lines through there from Archie O'Brien through Mini Rossi corner onto the front straight again. What's the gap going to be this time around? A really nice wide sweeping line as he comes out onto the front straight. You can see Archie Gibbs putting all his effort in to try and to bridge that gap to Archie O'Brien, but it is still 0.9 of a second, almost a second lead that Archie O'Brien has over Archie Gibbs. And we know with 5 laps to go, when Archie O'Brien is into his rhythm, it's so hard to match his pace.
Yeah, and we were talking about this during the whilst we were off air. You're enjoying watching Archie O'Brien, the way that he moves around on the bike. Tell us a little bit more about what you think is his sort of his movement, especially at his age, what he does with his body.
Well, when you compare him to the seniors that just sort of sit there on the Mini Moto and just throw the bike around, he looks really impressive. He looks like he rides a Mini Moto like he's riding a big bike. He gets his weight from one side of the bike to the other, and when you see him on screen, you'll just see on the change of direction and through the corners, he makes sure he's got his weight in all the right places as he's changing direction and he's going through the corners, and it's really impressive to see from Archie O'Brien. A lot of these riders do that, but Archie has really got a good style in him and does it incredibly well. So it's we were watching him earlier in practice, and it was brilliant to see. But like you say, battles all the way through this field. There's a battle for third going on between Johnson and Fidget that we were just looking at a second ago, but now looking at the battle between Byron Johnson and Finley Polhill. This is the battle for the top 5, and Finley Polhill following Austin Johnson all the while. Byron Johnson covering his lines, and Austin Johnson as well now up into third place. He's trying to fend off the number 7 of Luke Fidget. Both these riders have had podiums in this category before, but that's not going to stop them going all out to try and beat each other in this one.
Yeah, everyone's starting to pair off in this race, and we've got a couple of riders all starting to battle between themselves. Archie Gibbs now 0.7 of a second behind Archie O'Brien, so the gap has come down by 0.4 of a second. Austin Johnson is due to come up to the line with Luke Fidget 0.7 of a second behind him, and then we've got Byron Johnson is battling out.
And Archie Gibbs has lost a lot of time as he got caught by a back marker just off camera, and he's lost a lot of time. So now Archie O'Brien's got a lot of breathing space. Archie O'Brien came up to the back marker, lost a little bit of time. That let Gibbs close in on him, but now Gibbs got caught behind the back marker quite a bit worse than Archie O'Brien did. So now Archie O'Brien with a big lead, and we're going to see what that lead will be as he comes across the line. But it's Austin Johnson now who's got a little bit of breathing space over Luke Fidget. He's looking comfortable in that third place with only 2 laps to go of this Ellough Park circuit. It's round 6. It's the Mototechniks round 6 here at the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championships, and it's Archie O'Brien now with a 2.5 second lead ahead of Archie Gibbs. Unfortunately, Gibbs just getting caught out by the back marker.
Yeah, so with 2 laps left to go in this one, Archie O'Brien leading by 2.5 seconds, Archie Gibbs in second, Austin Johnson is in third, and he's still got Luke Fidget's company, so Luke's still looking to get onto that podium with about a lap and a half left to go in this first LC40 Elite category race of the weekend at the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championships. You're watching the 6th round of the season. 1 more to go after that, and that is the double points weekend at Penegar in South Wales in 2 weeks' time. So make sure you tune in for that over on FAB-Racing's YouTube and over on their Facebook page as well. Of course, you can listen live on motorsport.radio, and you'll be able to see if this man, Archie O'Brien, who's taking the last lap flag here in the LC40 Elite, can sew up the championship in both the AC40 Pro category and the LC40 Elites, as he's looking at making his way up onto the Metro kits for next year. I know he's got his mind on possibly staying on the LCs as well and just testing himself out on these mini motos, and we've seen Ethan Sparks do it, pick up the championship in the 50s and the LC40 Elite, so the AC40 Pros that Ethan last season, so we know it can be done. And Archie O'Brien looking very calm and assured of himself. He's coming down into the final few corners, and It may not be your friendly neighbourhood Spider-Man, but he's definitely your friendly neighbourhood motorbike racer, because here comes Archie O'Brien to the final few corners, and it looks as though he's going to be picking up the victory here in the LC40 Elites. Archie O'Brien to the flag is race 1 winner. LC40 Elites, that is 2 from 2 in his first 2 races of the weekend.
Yeah, two categories and 2 wins for Archie O'Brien. One in the AC40 Pros earlier on. He's waving to the marshals and to the cameramen at the side of the circuit, and he likes doing that, doesn't he? We were watching him in practice, and we were just watching at the side of the circuit. He managed to spot us from on the grid, from on the bike, and gave us a little wave whilst he was riding around. But he knows what he's doing. He's winning races, and he's having a little bit of fun whilst he's doing it. So a brilliant result for Archie O'Brien. He's looking to try and get that 6 wins from 6 races in the 2 categories that he's riding in. Will he be able to do it this weekend? It's a solid start.
Yeah, it is indeed. I think, I'm just going back over my notes, that he did it in round 1 back at Lid, where he picked up 6 from 6.
He had second, I believe, in one of the races. It was 5 wins from 6.
There we go. So yeah, he's still on the hunt for that one then. But he went down we know that he's gone down in the races purely chasing the fastest lap. He did the same back at Clay Pigeon as well. Where he's Red Lodge, my apologies, but where he just chases these fastest laps. He wants all the accolades, and he's had a fantastic season. He is definitely the one to beat and one to watch in the future. But so that is mini motos done from the junior category. So now we add a couple more years on. We won't say how many, but we go up to the senior mini motos, and the seniors, as we've got one of the riders just having a little bit of an issue. They're having to paddle the bike back in.
Sam Gardner, unfortunately, that's having a little bit of bad luck here for the race 1 for the LC40 Elites at Ellough Park. Not the way he would have wanted to open his account in the LC40 Elites, just having to pedal his bike back to pit lane. Now he's got a little bit of help, and now making his way back into the paddock. So not the end of not the start to the weekend that Sam Gardner will have wanted, but that bike's been wheeled back to the paddock, and they'll have those issues sorted for tomorrow's set of races. But moving from liquid cooled mini moto machinery with like you say, some younger riders on, adding, we'll say a couple, like you say, Gareth, a couple of years on, and it's now the senior mini motos. Exactly the same bikes, slightly different, but exactly the same configuration. Liquid cooled 40cc 2-stroke mini motos, but now with some heavier riders on.
Yeah, just a few extra kilos on top, but it does make for some sensational racing. And seniors is always one of those must-watch races, because with the likes of Matt and Josh Birkin that have been battling out there. Of course, Bernie Hook, multi-time champion here in the seniors. Will Howarth, we'll see if Will's out there on his mini. If I believe he was on his motor team, that he should have brought his mini with him. We'll see. But I'm sure the seniors will be putting on a show. And look how big that grid is. What a treat it is. I think that's the biggest grid that we've had in the seniors for quite a while. So this one is going to be fascinating. But it is going to be once again senior mini moto action here at FAB-Racing. And Bernie Hook told me at Rowra, he said, look, we just want people to come and enjoy themselves, get involved in the community. The senior mini moto community in the paddock is one of the best. They always have their tent where they're always having a laugh, but of course it goes on into the late evening, and they're the most elusive to get an interview with. They tend to run away like small children if you're trying to approach them. But it's always going to be the likes of Bernie Hook, the Birkins, Will Howarth at the front of this one. Simon Huntingford, of course, home circuit for him. He'll be repping Mototechniks, and he will be lining up in 5th position. It's good stuff for Simon. He's been on the podium a couple of times this season as well. In fact, punching the air every time he's done so. So he was on the podium back in the 3rd round of the season, I believe, back at Red Lodge. But he's got some work to do from 5th. But Will Howarth on pole. We tend to see if Will Howarth is on a mini that he often just goes off and disappears. So it's going to be a case of catching Will Howarth, I'd imagine.
Yeah, he's really, really quick on that Mini, isn't he? And he's got pole position. He's got pole position by a little margin, not too much ahead of Bernie Hook. So he'll be looking to get that win overall. But he's going to be in the perfect place to do it on pole position for the number 96 of Will Howarth, ahead of the number 0 of Bernie Hook. Richard Holmes-Williams returns and is third place on the grid ahead of Josh Birkin. Simon Huntingford, like we said, is in 5th ahead of Matt Birkin in 6th. Andy Whedon, Chris Yeomans, Mark Payne and Ashley Thompson round out the top 10 on the grid. On row 6, it's fronted by Paul Nichols on the number 24 in 11th place ahead of Nick Bennett in 12th. 13th is Ross Michael ahead of Reese Gentry, Keaton Payne and Elliot Searle, who rounds out the 8th row in 16th place on the grid. Richard Kinnaird is in 17th ahead of Kevin Gritton in 18th, and the final row on the grid is just fronted by Callum White ahead of Neil Skinner, Rob Gentry and Paul Bayliss. Round out your 22 rider grid for the senior mini motos here for the Mototechniks round 6 at Ellough Park for the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championships. We've gone from the juniors, we're now with the seniors.
Elbows out, bar bashing, it's going to be an absolute blast. Welcome to everyone watching from home, watching from the paddock. My name is Gareth Hall, been joined by Tristan Finocchiaro. We are almost halfway through the day's racing here, plenty more coming up tomorrow. Of course, you can tune in on motorsport.radio, but it is senior mini moto action, their first race of the weekend, and it's going to be Will Howarth on pole position for this one as they get ready to look up to that lighting board. It's going to go red. There we go, lights on, pause, lights off. Everyone paddling and pedaling to get a little bit quicker to go down towards the first corner, but it is Will Howarth leading away. Bernie Hook into second position, Richard Holmes-Williams in third, and behind it looks as though Josh Birkin held on to position in fourth place.
It's a good start from Will Howarth. Bernie Hook looking really, really menacing with that white fairing. Change of fairing this weekend at Ellough Park. You've got a little bit of breathing space already. Has your race leader of Will Howarth. Some moves being made a little bit further back as well. Watch out for the two Birkins, the number 4 and the number 5 of Josh and Matt Birkin, making their way through this senior mini moto grid. It's relatively tight at the top of the championship between Bernie Hook and Josh Birkin. 39-point lead that Bernie Hook has over Josh Birkin, so we'll keep an eye on that as the race goes on. But it's Richard Holmes-Williams who's now made his way up into second place, just ahead of the reigning champion, the number 0 of Bernie Hook. It's Will Howarth that leads though.
It is great start from Will Howarth, however, he hasn't broken away just yet. In fact, it's been a good start throughout the field. It looks as though we've had a clean start and a clean getaway for everyone. They're all starting to break away into their own separate battles, is what we tend to see in the senior mini motos. Josh Birkin is being hounded by Simon Huntingford in 5th position there, and Simon starting to put the pressure on the back of Josh. I should say Josh eyeing up the championship. So doesn't really want to get caught up in this battle with Simon Huntingford. Of course, last time out at Rowra, both Josh Birkin and Bernie Hook shared first in race 1 for Josh and race 2 for Bernie, and a third place in race 1 for Bernie and race 3 for Josh. So they came out of the weekend with equal points. Unfortunately, no race 3 in Rowra for the senior mini motos due to the weather conditions, and they're back out on circuit, and I'm sure they'll be much happier. These guys do a great job there out in the dry, but Will Howarth now leading away. However, Richard Holmes-Williams really starts to put that pressure on now, 3/10 across the line.
We have a race on our hand as the fastest lap of the race last time round went to tractor boy Richard Holmes-Williams, who's closing in on the number 96 of Will Howarth. He's right on his back wheel now, so we're going to expect to see him move very shortly, and he's gone way wide. That's track limits and a half there for Richard Holmes-Williams, who's going to have to keep an eye on that. Roger Key said he was going to be cutting down on track limits this weekend, but he's lost time from that. He's lost a little bit of time, not too much, but really, really wide on the exits of the Holmes hairpin for the number 126 of Richard Holmes-Williams. Like we say, lost a little bit of time, but he's got now back in touch with your race leader, Will Howarth. What's the gap going to be across the line? Will Howarth just managed to stretch it out a little bit, actually. So the gap across the line is half a second. Not too much to shout about at the moment, though. No, not yet. It was fastest lap of the race for Will Howarth last time around. The gap, however, between the pair of them is half a second. But last time round, it was only 2/10 between their lap time. So it shows you they're both matching each other pace. They've broken away from Bernie Hook in third position. Bernie, who's now getting Josh Birkin closing up to him in third and fourth position.
They've dropped Simon Huntingford 1.6 seconds, who's got Matt Birkin for company now in 6th position. Andy Whedon in 7th, Chris Yeomans, Ashley Thompson and Paul Nichols rounding out your top 10 in the seniors. Of course, points down to 15 in Fab. But it is Will Howarth still leading away from Richard Holmes-Williams, battling out over this race victory. And some work to do for Will Howarth. However, it looks as though he's had a slightly better lap this time around. He does go quicker. Once again, another fastest lap going purple for Will Howarth on the 96, a 53 flat for him, a 53.1 for Richard Holmes-Williams. Bernie Hook is still battling now with Josh Birkin. In fact, Josh Birkin now within a 10th, and he's trying to go down the inside of Bernie Hook. This is the battle possibly for the championship. A big wiggle from the front tyre there from Bernie Hook, and Josh is going to sense that Bernie is almost on the edge there, so he just needs to sit with Bernie here and just think about making that move at the opportune time. Does he go for it early? Does he wait for later in the race?
This is all about the championship now between Bernie Hook and the number 4 of Josh Birkin, and it's that fight for the final step on the podium. Really, Josh is going to be wanting to put a few bikes between him and Bernie Hook with that 39-point lead that Bernie has in the championship. But of course, don't forget, the final round is going to be double points at round 7 of the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championship, so it's all to play for at Clandow. The next round, as they just carve their way through the back markers, one on the right, one on the left, up the inside, round the outside, using all the circuit. Bernie Hook, you can see how much he tries to make himself small, doesn't adopt the style of getting his knees in and tucking his knees into the bike, but really tries to bring his torso down towards the tank as much as he can.
Yeah, this is something we always talk about when we're watching the seniors, is that just the sheer change between riding styles from one rider to another. We see that even between the two Birkins, with Matt and Josh, they tend to, one tucks his legs and knees in, and the other keeping them splayed out for a little bit more balance. He's got a rider down to the side there, just trying to get it restarted and back in the race. It looks as though that bike is going again, so good to see. But it's still Will Howarth leading away now. In fact, Will extending his gap out to 1.1 second last time around. What's it now? It's now 2.2. So that last lap for Richard Holmes-Williams was a second slower. He's been matching Will Howarth pretty much every lap so far this race, until the last two, where he's lost a second in the last last 2 laps. He's lost a second per lap. So Will perhaps just deciding to have a little bit of fight, and then thought, well, I'm done with you now.
Yeah, that must be some sort of mistake there from Richard Holmes-Williams, because he was a second slower than his own lap time. Was Richard Holmes-Williams, a 54.2, over a second slower than his fastest lap of the race. So something's possibly happened to Richard Holmes-Williams on that last lap, and now there is that 2.2 second lead that we have out at the front, but there's no lead between Bernie Hook and Josh Birkin in terms of on track here for this race 1 for the senior mini moto. It's between these two guys for the championship, and Josh Birkin's just been sitting behind Bernie Hook. He's just been following him, seeing his line, seeing where he's strong, where he's weak, although he's having a little look to the inside now. They're side by side down the straight. They're side by side into turn 1. It's Josh Birkin now into 3rd place ahead of Bernie Hook. How is Bernie going to respond now?
I love that. Even as you saw Josh go down the inside, you could almost see a little nod of the head there from Bernie of oh no. I think that just that lap traffic just caught Bernie out a little bit, just lost around about half a second. He takes the
car park route.
Yeah, the Joker line as he goes around the outside, but maintains the speed. But Josh Birkin now up into 3rd position. Matt Birkin has been passed by Simon Huntingford for 5th position. Now, Matt Birkin is still theoretically in this title challenge. He was only 50 points off the lead of Bernie Hook, so a few points back from his brother, but still within a shout, but not having a great opening race. He's down in 6th position is Matt Birkin, but it is now Josh leading from Bernie Hook. They're fighting over 3rd. Up at the front of this one with 1 lap left to go, it's Will Howarth and Richard Holmes-Williams. So it's the 96 leading from the 126, and the 96 looking as though with a 3.4 second advantage that it's going to be another victory in the senior mini motos for Will Howarth. Of course, he'll be out on the Moto team bike a little bit later on in the day as well, but Will Howarth once again showing exactly what to do when you get on these senior mini motos, and that is just consistency lap for lap. His lap times have been within a couple of tenths of each other each lap, so it has been fantastic once again from the 96 of Will Howarth. And with just a few more corners left to go, he's looking at picking up the race victory, and he's going to be rounding the final corner to take the checkered flag, and it's going to be Will Howarth your winner here for the senior mini motos. Richard Holmes-Williams in second, and the battle for third is going to go down. And who's going to be on the line? It's going to be Josh Birkin, ahead of Bernie Hook by just over a tenth of a second. Simon Huntingford, can he hold off Matt Birkin? He does. Simon comes home in fifth position on his home circuit. Matt Birkin yet to cross the line. Where's Matt Birkin? It's just about coming across the line now. Oh, he was way off. There must have been an issue for Matt Birkin. Maybe not the race to remember for him. Andy Whedon in seventh position. Then we have got Chris Yeomans, Paul Nicholls and Ross Michael in 8th, 9th and 10th, as we've got Chris Yeomans crossing line. Paul Nicholls, we'll see where this filters in as they come up to the line. Will it be Paul Nicholls and Ross Michael? It is Paul Nicholls, and it is Ross Michael, 9th and 10th position.
And another brilliant win there for Will Howarth. Richard Holmes-Williams pushing really hard, but didn't quite have an answer for the all-black outfit of Will Howarth. Josh Birkin just beats Bernie Hook to the line, and what a brilliant result from Josh Birkin. It's exactly what he will have wanted, just picking up a few more points than Bernie Hook, with Bernie Hook down in fourth, of course. 16 points for third, 13 points for fourth, so we'll have closed that championship gap down a tiny bit, will have Josh Birkin, but it's all to play for with that double point last round.
It is indeed, but it was Will Howarth, your winner in that one, ahead of the 126 of Richard Holmes-Williams in second position. Josh Birkin manages to beat Bernie Hook, so takes the more points off of your championship leader. Third and fourth position for Josh and Bernie. Simon Huntingford in his home race in fifth position, ahead of Matt Birkin. Andy Whedon, Chris Yeomans, Paul Nicholls and Ross Michael are your top 10 in the senior mini motos, who will now go back, I'm sure, crack open a beverage of their choice and be sitting in this East Anglian sunshine and enjoying some racing over the rest of the day. And they will be back out tomorrow for race 2s and race 3s, and in fact some of them might even be getting themselves ready for a little bit of karting after the day's session here, Tristan, in which you and I are going to be out there testing ourselves up against.
Yeah, we might not be friends after that.
No, we'll see if we're talking to each other. So
team tactics.
Yeah, I know we're going to be. Yeah, I'm going to be towing him round. But yeah, it's looking forward to that. It's of course a huge community feel here at FAB, and everyone out enjoying themselves in the sunshine, helping each other in the paddock. Of course, some people might come and don't have the mechanical skills. Some others, so you often see people lending a hand and lending a tool, and that's exactly what we like to see here at FAB. Of course, it is the FAB-Racing Mototechniks round 6 here from Ellough Park. My name is Gareth Hall. I've been joined by Tristan Finocchiaro. You can find me on Twitter at GT2_driving. You can find Tristan at SpagBob58, and we'll be bringing you all of the racing throughout today and tomorrow here from Ellough, and plenty more to come today. We've got the pit bikes coming up next. Of course, we've got the likes of the Mini GP 50s and the Junior 140s will be in together, and then of course Extreme 200 Moto teams in together, GP 70s, and we will finish up with the Mini F1 sidecars to round out the day's action before everyone goes and takes a well-earned rest. And well, if it's anything like us here in this commentary box where it feels like a greenhouse at the moment, I don't know about you, but I'm melting, but I'm sure everyone will be trying to find some shade somewhere.
Yeah, I'm a bit envious of your shorts at the moment, Gareth. So no, it's pretty warm in here, but I'm sure it's pretty warm out on circuit when you're in leathers and helmets and sweating around, working hard around Ellough Park circuit as well. So all these guys will have to contend with that. We were talking a little bit earlier about how when the track temperature rises, when the air temperature rises, you can the track starts to get a little bit greasy, a little bit slippier than what they'll be used to. So they'll have to keep that in mind as the sun is shining through and beating down on that track quite a bit now. So some of these corners will feel a little bit greasier than what they'll have been used to earlier in the weekend. But we have had sun pretty much all the way through the weekend so far.
Yeah, we have indeed. It's been a lovely weekend's racing here, and well, we've got as we usually say, if you feel the earth start to shake under your feet, it's usually because there's a pit bike race taking place somewhere, and that is what we've got here. And it's great to see the pit bikes back out in full force. And well, it is once again another mega grid in the 140s, and they are here for the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championships. 6 locations across the UK in the 2021 season. Commentary, of course, provided by Motorsport Media and Motorsport Radio all throughout this season. FAB, of course, official partner to the VSP, part of Dorna's Road to MotoGP, and trying to find the next British star. And well, some of those come back from the likes of the British Talent Cup and race in the paddock, or racing the paddock and racing in the pit bike 140s. Who are we going to see in this 140 that we know of?
Loads and loads of names. If you just look at the grid there, it's incredibly packed. The biggest grid we have here at Fab Racing is undoubtedly the pit bike 140s. It's Rossi Banham that will front that grid, however, ahead of the number 10 of Taylor Lawrence, who, of course, your championship leader by quite some margin, a solid 136 points away in the championship is Taylor Lawrence. Watch out for the number 126 as well, looking to be making moves. Richard Holmes Williams, who we've just seen out in the senior mini moto, so he'll be putting a shift on and sweating a little bit underneath that helmet. The number 29 of Reese Peacock is lined up just alongside him, but it's Rossi Banham and Taylor Lawrence, who those two friends off circuit, and we always see some brilliant battles between the both of them.
Yeah, absolutely so, and they've been looking forward to getting back on circuit together, because Taylor, of course, he's been picking up the points since Rossi's been out up at the British Talent Cup, and unfortunately for him, I say unfortunately for him, he's been delighted to pick up those wins. But Rossi, he did say, I think the championship's out of my hands now. He's got to hope that Taylor has some severe issues with the bike to reel in, as you say, that huge 137 points. He's 1 point behind Reese Peacock, who's made his way up into second position in this one. And it's going to be Taylor Lawrence on pole position. But what can Rossi Banham do from pole position? This one, and Taylor Lawrence alongside him. Sorry, I was looking wrong side of the grid. So it's going to be the pair off the line, and then of course we've got the usual protagonists behind the likes of Jamie King, of Reese Peacock, of course Chris Wells, and Marco Pandolfo. Marco, who's doing a pretty strong season so far this season. He seems to have sorted out those bike gremlins that he was suffering with in 2020.
Yeah, we saw him after qualifying walking back into the paddock. Wasn't sure. I asked what the problem was, but wasn't quite sure. And that's him. You've just cursed him, Gareth. We were just talking about how we haven't seen him having any problems this year. He's had a problem in qualifying, and it looks like he's got back up and running. So whatever the issue with that bike, hopefully he's back up and running and into this race, because he's shown some incredible form late in this season. Just picking up some force, knocking on the door of podiums, and if all goes well, we could see him picking up one today.
I'm just not going to say anything about him for the rest of the day.
You've done enough damage.
I know, I always do. I think I've done it with Will Howe so much in the past. I'm just going to stop talking. I'm going to be a mute commentator. But pit bike 140 action is Taylor Lawrence versus Rossi Banham. What can the likes of Jamie King do? He's in this one as well. Of course, we see plenty more of the BSB paddock making their way back down. Of course, we've seen the likes of Brad Ray has come down and done the pit bike 140s in the past, and plenty of the other graduates have made their way up onto the big tracks and the national circuits. However, with their green flag lap done, they're getting ready to kick off their race as the final rider finds their way into the grid slot at the back of the grid. And Rossi versus Taylor looking at each other off the line. Lights on for pit bike 140 race 1. Pause, out, and lights off, and here we go. Who gets the jump off the line? Looks as though Rossi's got a really good start, sweeping around the outside. We've got a rider at the back that hasn't managed to get going, but it is Rossi leading away.
Oh, and a big crash in the background there, a few riders down. So that's drama on the first lap. So there's a couple of riders down and out of this race. The number 12 and the number 142, who unfortunately have not started the race the way they would have wanted to here for race 1 for the pit bike 140s. All the rest, though, are weighing cleanly. Track limits going completely out the window there, so keep an eye out for that as this race goes on. We see these riders on these pit bikes use every inch of the track and more, use the car park route, use every inch of the circuit. But out into the lead of this race, it is Rossi Banham with the yellow helmet. Taylor Lawrence is trying to close him down. Reese Peacock all over the rear wheel of the number 126 of Richard Holmes Williams, and look at the number the red helmet rather of Harrison Crosby, who's made up a few positions now as well. A couple of bikes off on the side of the circuit. The number 15 is of Harrison Crosby, who's up into some good positions here, up into 6th, and looking menacing, looking like he's going to want to be picking up some podium positions. Of course, British Talent Cup rider as well as Rossi Banham, they're all using the car park route here, so if we penalise them all, the results stay the same?
No, I don't know. We have said that track limits may become an issue, especially for the pit bikes later in this weekend. Equally, at this corner they're just approaching now, they were taking liberties with the painted curbing. That's the 142 off to the side of the circuit. That's Matt Lindley. That looks though he's unfortunately out of this one earlier in the race, unfortunately for him. But 10 laps left to go. That's a shame for Matt Lindley, because Matt had been running really nicely over the last few races. Yellow flag out on the main straight down towards turn 1, and well, that means that they're going to have to, I say, take a more cautious line into turn 1. We know that's not going to be the case. They're still going to go full hand. But yeah, track limits, it's tricky for these guys here, because they are going to try and take as much corner speed as possible. Of course, the circuit built on an old airfield. There's a runway just behind us, which takes people off skydiving, and there's a runway just to the right of us as well. So it's very flat, so it allows you to perhaps use a little bit more of the runoff than you're most usually able to at some other circuits. There's wood chips or gravel around, but this time around, as Rossi backs his way into the Alan Wone hairpin at the end of the lap, and Rossi really sliding his way around these corners, starting to just break away a little bit from Taylor. We got a bit of bar bashing there between two of the riders behind. That's
Richard Holmes-Williams, who's having some issues there. He was sat up and having some problems there, so that's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. I see he's dropped down to 5th and possibly he's dropped down to 5th. I'm not sure what happened there with him, so it looks as if he's still going. So, not sure what happened there. The number 76 of Jamie King down in 9th. That's not where he will want to be at all. Of course, your reigning champion is going to be wanting to make some big moves and make some passes stick on that number 76. Reigning champion, of course, has struggled a little bit this year compared to last, but we're seeing him up there in some good positions earlier in the season, but not what he will wanted at the moment. Rossi Banham, though, fastest lap of the race last time round. He's gapped Taylor Lawrence. Taylor won't be used to this.
No, absolutely not. 1.9 seconds. Rossi Banham has the lead over Taylor Lawrence. Chris Wells, it's great to see Chris back after having that pretty nasty collarbone break back at Clay Pigeon. Is back in and on the bike and fighting for podiums, exactly where he wanted to be, as they storm their way down towards Shoemakers and into the infield section. It's just a circuit full of hairpins here at Ellough Park, as Rossi slides his way in there, really making the use of that pit bike.
Yeah, as I said to him when we were watching him on the side of the circuit, I said to him, having a little bit of sideways action there. He's like, yeah, not that much. We look at it on circuit, he is completely sideways on that pit bike 140 and doing a good job of it. If you watch him down into the hairpin, there's a little bit of leeway there, with a little bit of the rear end coming out of line from the front, but not as much as it was on the other side of the circuit. Really nice little style there from Rossi Banham. He's riding over in the British Talent Cup, picking up some personal bests as well in the last few rounds, and looking to be improving in that British Talent Cup grid. They're using every inch of the circuit, almost on the grass there from Rossi Banham. Taylor Lawrence, you can see him putting his head down, really trying to bridge that gap, but it's Chris Wells he's going to have to be worried about.
Yeah, Chris starting to catch up to Taylor. 9.9 of a second for Chris to catch up, so it's a good run for the 62. And with that last lap, a purple lap there for Rossi Banham, the 196, your 50.679. That's only 0.2 of a second off the lap record set by Charlie Nesbitt last season. So Charlie, who unfortunately not with us this weekend, won't be able to save that record from falling if Rossi's able to find those 0.2 of a second. Taylor, well, he's doesn't seem to have the pace on Rossi this weekend. Well, at the moment, so didn't really have it in qualifying, and now 2.7 seconds he's dropped back behind Rossi as they come up to the line. Chris still trying to put the pressure. He's just lost around about 0.2 of a second on that last lap. Reese Peacock in 4th position, Richard Holmes-Williams in 5th, Darren Anderson having a good run in 6th position, Ben Jollif on that 125. He is in 7th position. Nathan Brilliant, Jamie King, as you say, maybe not having the run he was hoping for in 9th place, and Harrison Crosby in 10th position.
Yeah, Harrison Crosby, one of those riders that we're used to seeing over in the British Talent Cup. He's just ahead of Marco Pandolfo, so Pandolfo has managed to get that bike up and running, and he's into this race, and thankfully not quite in the positions that he'd want to be, but he's running, and he's not a retirement in this race at the moment. Anyway, it didn't go his way in qualifying, but we don't want to jinx him again, as it's Rossi Banham now. 2.9 seconds it was across the line last time. What's it going to be this time? 3.3. Incredibly consistent out the front for Rossi Banham, using all the track and more, like we've said. Taylor Lawrence really trying to bring that gap in, but he's in a lonely 2nd place now. Chris Wells has just dropped off the back of Taylor Lawrence, so Chris Wells in a lonely 3rd place. Reese Peacock down in 4th. He's got a little bit of a battle going on, but spread out for a pit bike 140 race.
It is, and this is where we tend to see the riders start to catch the back markers. This is where you can start to lose and gain time. So will Rossi get caught up cutting his way through the traffic? And it is something that these pit bike, especially the front runners, start to work out where to find those positions. Where can you get around these back markers? And well, it is Rossi Banham with 5 laps left to go. That's due to become 4. Will he be able to extend this gap that he's got over Taylor Lawrence? It's now 3.8 seconds, so it looks as though Taylor hasn't quite got an answer for what Rossi is putting down with pace-wise. Rossi isn't extending his fastest lap time. He's sitting around a 50.7. His best lap time is 50.6, so it shows you that he's pretty consistent lap times.
Yeah, very consistent out the front. 50.6 on that is his best time. Like I say, 50.7. He set a couple of 50.7s on these last couple of laps. But now Chris Wells is just falling into the clutches of Reese Peacock. So now we have a battle for the podium. Chris Wells are using the white line there every inch of the track like all of these guys do. And now Reese Peacock's got a good drive down into the hairpin. Is he going to be able to make a move stick? Not quite. Yellow flag out, so there's a rider to the side of the circuit. So no passing through here unless they want to pick up a penalty from race control. Down onto the front straight for one more time. 3 laps to go in this pit bike 140 race. And it's Chris Wells who leads leads this battle for 3rd place anyway. Ahead on is that Marco Pandolfo? I think it is on with the yellow wheels. So Gareth, he's going to be coming round to you after.
And I think we've lost Harrison Crosby as well. I think that's Harrison Crosby in the infield as well. So unfortunately for Harrison, another issue. We saw an issue for him in Quali 2 in exactly the same position, and unfortunately for Harrison, walking back to the pit lane goes him. But it's starting to get close now. This is where it's going to start to heat up. It's down the inside as everyone starts to filter.
Hold your breath.
Yeah, that's well, this is pit bike action, isn't it? It's what we like to see.
You can't hold your breath, you can't blink, you can't take your eyes away from the screen in this pit bike 140 race 1 here at Ellough Park. It's round 6. It's the Mototechniks round 6, and who's it going to be that's going to pick up this final position on this pit bike 140 podium? Rossi Banham looks comfortable in first. Taylor Lawrence looks comfortable in second. Riders are looking to on the side of the circuit. 2 laps to go, or 1.5 laps remaining of this pit bike 140 race, and it's Chris Wells that leads this battle for 3rd place ahead of Reese Peacock. Just a few more corners for Reese Peacock to be able to taste the champagne, but Chris Wells is defending it really nicely as they go through the left-hander, down towards the section, down towards the dogleg hairpin. Who's it going to be? Chris Wells really defensive. Rossi Banham is out in the lead, and he's going to take this win, but who's going to take the final place on the podium? And it is we do have 1 lap to go. Getting a little bit excited, but 1 lap to go for Rossi Banham. The last lap flag is out, and he's got plenty of time between him and Taylor Lawrence in second.
You can take a breath. He was getting so excited. This is what the pit bikes do to you. You get so lost in the action that you think the race is going quick, and it is. But on to the final lap goes Rossi Banham, backing it into the hairpin. He can cruise to the flag now. He's got a 4.5 second advantage over Taylor Lawrence. Taylor, who last time around almost matched Rossi to the thousandths of a second of his lap time, but it's not going to be enough. Rossi Banham towards Wone's hairpin for the final time, down the inside of some lap traffic. Taylor Lawrence just isn't quite close enough to make any inroads, and it's going to be Rossi Banham, the young man from Southampton, of course, British Talent Cup, has got himself a star. Rossi Banham back on the top step of the pit bike 140s. He is your race winner here. Taylor Lawrence looks as though he's going to take second position, and he does, ahead of Chris Wells. Chris Wells making his return, just holds on to a podium ahead of Reese Peacock in 3rd and 4th position. Richard Holmes-Williams comes home in 5th. Ben Jollif moves up to 6th position. Great to see. Jamie King moves up a few positions into 7th. Darren Anderson and Nathan Riggy in 8th and 9th place. Adam Redding is due to come home in 10th. We'll see if Nathan Riggy crosses the line. He was in 9th last time around, and perhaps he hasn't come up on our timing duties. In fact, has Nathan Riggy had an issue? It has, because he's fallen outside the top 10. That promotes Adam Redding up in towards or into 9th position, and Sam Smithson into P10. So that rounds out your top 10 finishes for the pit bike 140s, with Rossi Banham winning from Taylor Lawrence and Chris Wells on your podium. Winning margin for Rossi Banham 4.7 seconds back to Taylor. So great to have Rossi back, and he's back with a bang on the top step of the podium. He picks up his first win since or all the way back at Red Lodge where he picked up that hat-trick of victories, and of course missed the last 2 rounds due to being up in the BSB paddock back at Clay Pigeon and Araura. But well, Rossi back exactly where he wanted to be. He needed to take points off of Taylor, maybe not enough with Taylor finishing in 2nd place, but well, great result there in pit bikes. They'll be out for tomorrow, as we've got the 142 off to the side of the circuit is that Nathan Reggie, who unfortunately looks as though he fell out of the top 10 on the final lap. But once again, pit bikes really putting on a good show.
They always do, don't they? They always put on some great racing. A little bit strung out for a pit bike 140 race. Not what we're used to seeing from the pit bike 140s, but still great action. That battle for 3rd place could have gone either way. Rossi Banham flying away with it out the front. Not what we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing Taylor Lawrence being the one flying out the front, but Rossi is back and looking to rack up the points. The championship is very much going in the way of Taylor Lawrence with a very hefty lead out the front. But now bringing the bike back to the pits is the number 142.
It is indeed, and so they will be back out for their racing tomorrow for race 2 and race 3. This is FAB-Racing, the Mototechniks round 6 here from Ellough Park. Of course, FAB-Racing, part of the Dorners Road to MotoGP and an official part of the British Superbikes. My name is Gareth Hall. I've been joined by Tristan Finocchiaro, of course, British Talent Cup commentator over on Eurosport, and we are being joined for the MKGP 50s, which will be up next by our very own Archie O'Brien. Archie, good afternoon, how are you doing? Yes, not too bad, thank you very much. Hopefully our producer is turning up microphone number 3, and yeah, it's going to be hopefully a fantastic GP50 race, because we're expecting to see the likes of Clayton Edmonds versus Marco Holt. And Tristan, it's a battle that is really starting to close in, with Marco putting the pressure on.
Yeah, it really is. Marco, like we said at the beginning of the season, we thought Clayton was going to run away with it. He was looking so strong on that number 146 machine, and it looked as if he was just going to run away with the championship and blitz the field. But Marco Holt has put in a lot of work away from the race events, and is looking really strong on that MKGP 50 machine, and it looks as if he does have what it takes to be able to put it to Clayton Edmonds. It's only 32 points between them in the championship, so really could go either way, and that double point round that we're going to have at Clandau next time out is really going to put things into perspective.
It is absolutely so, and so the 50s making their way out on circuit. And Archie, you've obviously quite a few people on this grid. Let us know what do you think about the Medj kits, and what do you think about some of the riders in this one? It's been a good category to watch so far this season.
We seem to have a couple of technical issues with Archie O'Brien, so not quite. But the GP50s currently out on circuit, and it's going to be between these two guys. Once we get Archie O'Brien up and running, Archie is one of the riders that we're used to seeing over in the AC40 Pros and the LC40 Lukes. You've been trying a little bit of Metrokit action out away from FAB-Racing as well, though, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, and I've been really enjoying it, progressing up to the Metrokits.
Is it something you can see yourself? You see yourself joining these guys for next year?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's once you do your good couple of seasons on the mini motos, it's time to move up onto the Metrokits.
So it'll be good to see what Archie O'Brien can do next year on the Metrokits. But for now, it's Clayton Edmonds who is on pole position ahead of Marco Holt on the number 58 bike in second. Archie Gibbs fronts row 2 in third on the number 3 machine ahead of Harry Payne on the number 11 in fourth. Wilson Dilks on the number 85 is fifth on his Metrokit GP50 ahead of Bill Harris in sixth. Luke Fidget, the number 7 in seventh, fronting the front row of the grid ahead of Izzy Carter and Charlie Ealing rounding out your grid. Izzy Carter and Charlie Ealing running on 4-stroke machines, different to the MKGP 50s, so not running the same machinery as the rest of the field. So it'll be interesting to see how that one pans out. It's a battle for first between those two, but it's all about who's going to take this MKGP 50 victory. It's all about the battle between Clayton Edmonds and Marco Holt. They're going to look to the lights for the first time this weekend here at Ellough Park. There's the very colourful liveried bike of Clayton Edmonds. He's going to be looking to the lights for this race 1 for the MKGP 50s, and the lights will be coming on very shortly. The lights are on and they're off and they're away down into turn 1, and it's a good start from the number 146 of Clayton Edmonds. Archie Gibbs trying to go around the outside, and Luke Fidget looking menacing as well, but it's they're all away cleanly now, and it's Clayton Edmonds from Marco Holt and Archie Gibbs.
Yeah, obviously Clayton Edmonds swooping around the outside of the lot of them, and Marco just trying to get up the inside of them.
Well, what's it like on that first lap down to turn 1? It's a fast turn 1. What do you keeping your wits about you going into it?
Yeah, it's quite scary because you think, is someone up my inside, round the outside, but you just, like I said, got to keep your wits and stay calm.
So then Clayton Edmonds, your championship leader, and is leading this race for the MKGP 50s. The number 85 of Wilson Dilks trying his luck out on a MKGP 50 machine. There's a yellow flag through the last sector, so we'll have to figure out what happened there, but a yellow flag through there, so no overtaking through that sector, but they're through that sector nice and cleanly now down into the first sector, and it's Clayton Edmonds who still leads ahead of the number 58 of Marco Holt. Marco looking really menacing here, Archie.
Yeah, he is. He's obviously going to try put a move on Clayton and try pull away if he has the pace, but we'll have to see what comes.
And what about Archie Gibbs? Archie Gibbs, a rider that you ride against, obviously in the LC40 Elites. What do you think's going through his mind at the moment?
He's probably just trying to stay on the back of him, maybe even close up to him and put a move.
So it's all about this victory. Of course, Archie Gibbs yet to have a victory in the MKGP 50s. It's all gone the way of Clayton Edmonds and Marco Holt, as Marco Holt gets right up onto the rear wheel of the number 146 Clayton Edmonds. They go down the panel straight one more time. They're side by side into turn 1. Is Marco making a move yet? Not quite yet. Where do you think he's going to make that move?
Obviously, I've ridden with him a couple of times and he's really strong on the brakes, so maybe even into a heavy braking area as he goes up the inside. A lovely move from Marco.
Yeah, like you say, lovely move from Marco, and that is a change for the lead now. So Marco Holt closing down that championship lead and now into the lead of this race. Has picked up a few wins on the season so far and now is looking to pick up another one. Clayton Edmonds looking menacing as well, but this is a battle between three of them because Archie Gibbs isn't having any of it either.
No, he's obviously found some pace and he's trying to, like I say, make a move on him and maybe even try to get his maiden victory.
And that would be brilliant to see from Archie Gibbs. And you'll be looking into this class next year, Archie. Are you looking at the lines? Are you studying what they're doing?
Well, I've sort of ridden with a couple of them, so I know the lines roughly, but it's always good to study.
What's it like adapting to the Metrokit bikes then from the mini motos that are currently your focus?
Obviously, you've got to the 12-inch wheels are different turning. Clayton goes up the inside of Marco Holt, yes. And Archie Gibbs gets up to second as well.
Yeah, and that's big in terms of this race because I think he's just lost quite a bit of time there. Has the number 58 of Marco Holt just missed a gear on the exit there. Wasn't quite expecting that move. It was a harsh move there from Clayton Edmonds. Firm but fair, I think it's safe to say, from Clayton. Really nicely done. Just took the space away from him, but that's just rattled the number 58 of Marco Holt. Not down and out of it though. Still very much in contention.
Yeah, he seems already to be closing in on the Archie Gibbs and Clayton Edmonds as well. So he's obviously not lost his rhythm.
Yeah, so still there is the number 58 of Marco Holt. Further down in the race, we've got Harry Payne in fourth on the number 11. Has had a few technical gremlins earlier on in the weekend ahead of Wilson Dilks, Luke Fidget, Bill Harris, Byron Johnson, Austin Johnson also trying their luck out on these GP50 machines this weekend, and it's Izzy Carter, the sole four-stroke bike out there at the moment with her competitor going out at the beginning, and this is the number 11 then. Harry Payne he's had a little bit of trouble so far this weekend with a few things not going quite the way that he wanted to with the bike. A couple of things that have held him back, unfortunate technical problems. What's it like in that sort of scenario? How do you keep going and keep focused on what you need to do?
You're always really trying to get going, but it's disheartening when your bike's playing up and you can't get going.
Yeah, of course, I can imagine, but these guys at the front, everything going smoothly for them at the moment. Using a lot of curb on the exit there was the number 58 of Marco Holt. Clayton Edmonds just dangling a leg down into the hairpin. Valentino Rossi style for the number 146. Of course, number 46 was Rossi's number, but it wasn't the inspiration that Clayton Edmonds had to run that number. The 146 is the number that his granddad used to run back at club racing events, so he's opted to use the same number, so nothing to do with the number 46 of Valentino Rossi. But I think it's safe to say, Archie, that the number 58 of Marco Holt, that number inspired by Marco Simoncelli?
Yeah, obviously it's quite clear as it's in the same font, and it's got the same livery as well as Marco Simoncelli.
So Marco, a fan of Marco, is on the screen, and Marco Holt sets the fastest lap of the race on that last lap, going purple with a 50.552. But this is a battle between Luke Fidget and Bill Harris. Bill Harris, who's been pretty much glued to the rear wheel of Isaiah Devine, and has been battling with him all season long. Unfortunately, Isaiah's not joining us this weekend as his vehicle broke down on the way to the circuit. So really unfortunate for Isaiah. He would have wanted to be in this race between these guys, but it's between Fidget and Harris.
Yeah, obviously Harris trying to find a way through on Luke Fidget, but it's going to be hard as Luke's a very competent rider on the brakes and on the exit, so quite a hard rider to overtake.
Of course, you've raced against Luke, so you'll know exactly. And using a really, really wide line there was Bill Harris. We saw you doing that last year.
Yeah, well, it's sort of you can gain time as lose time as well, but maybe he was just taking the void in action of Luke.
And there's been a little bit of a change at the front as Marco Holt is up into second place and now is menacing, looking really menacing and looking to try and take the lead of the race. But it's Clayton Edmonds still that leads. Archie Gibbs has just dropped off the back of these guys slightly, but still in contention as Marco Holt has a look up the inside, can't make a move stick this time round. There's still 4.5 laps to go in this race as they come across the line. It's going to be 4 laps to go in this race one for the MKGP 50s. He's pulling alongside down the front straight, makes a move. Really nice move there from Marco.
Yeah, lovely move there, just slipped up the inside on the brakes, and like I said earlier, he's really good on the brakes, so expect him to make them sort of moves.
And with this circuit, there's quite a few passing manoeuvres that can be made as he's almost contact there. Clayton Edmonds made that move earlier on in the race, but Marco Holt slightly wiser this time round and just closed the door, made sure there was no way through, and now he's lost time and he's into the clutches of Archie Gibbs.
Yeah, maybe Archie Gibbs can start interfering with Clayton, and then Marco can get a good gap out to Clayton Edmonds.
Yeah, so definitely something that could be happening here for race one for the MKGP 50s. Clayton is going to have to make sure he regroups and tries to get back onto the rear wheel of Marco Holt. Marco with a good lead now.
Yeah, he's got a reasonable margin of 9/10 of a second, so maybe he's just found his rhythm once Clayton lost a bit of time, and he's going to try pull a bit of a bigger gap now.
And we see that when you get into a rhythm on circuit, really, really consistent, and no one really can match the pace. Is that what Marco's going to be looking to do then?
Well, yeah, he's shown good consistency over the weekend, so I'm sure he's going to be hoping to pull away.
Now a battle further back between Austin and Byron Johnson. These two who we've seen on mini motos in the likes of the AC40 Pros, also the LC40 Elites. You race against these guys. What's it like seeing them out on circuit on the bigger bikes?
It's a bit weird because you think they're sort of your position in the mini motos, but then you see them out on track and you're sort of cheering for them a bit.
Well, that very well could be you. I mean, you've got the MetroKit bikes. So, what stops you from having a go with these guys?
Well, I'm sort of just trying to finish off the mini motos this season and then move up to MetroKits full time next year.
So we'll expect you to see with no mini moto action next year, just the MetroKits?
Yeah, probably. We might maybe keep on to a mini moto, which I started with just for nostalgia reasons.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Well, we've seen it happen. We were talking earlier, we've seen it happen before, where Ethan Sparks was running in both the MetroKit and the mini moto classes and won them both, as Marco Holt just makes his way up the inside of Mini Rossi there. That's Izzy Carter, who's just been coming around to be lapped, and that's Austin and Byron Johnson now that have been lapped by Marco Holt, and that has opened up this race slightly, but the number 146 of Clayton Edmonds has recovered, and what's going to happen here with Austin Johnson? has a little look up the inside. He's going to be losing time now. This could allow Archie Gibbs to get back onto the rear wheel of these guys, but Archie Gibbs is trying to get through some lap traffic himself. Clayton Edmonds up the inside, and they've carved through that really well. What's it like when you're leading a race, you're battling with someone else, and you just see that lap traffic coming closer and closer?
I had it a bit earlier. It's always a bit frightening because you think, am I going to be able to find a way quickly through? But unfortunately, I went onto the outward part of the circuit when I tried to get past the lap traffic.
Yeah, we saw that earlier on. You lost a little bit of time, but Archie Gibbs lost even more. When you watch it back, he lost a hell of a lot of time, and that obviously you were very consistent out the front, but that helped your race as we've crossed the line, and it is Marco Holt who has crossed the line to take this victory. The number 58 wins ahead of the number 146 of Clayton Edmonds, and he looks delighted with that one, and that is big for the championship. Marco Holt claws 5 points back on Clayton Edmonds. Archie Gibbs in third, Harry Payne in fourth, and Luke Fidget looks comfortable to pick up that fifth place. What a win from Marco.
Yeah, obviously it was a really well-ridden race. Got to the front once, but then unfortunately dropped back to third, but he made another comeback as Clayton looks a little bit distraught with that.
Yeah, well, he's just lost 5 points in the championship, but second place is still a really, really good position to be finishing in. Marco Holt then it is who takes the win ahead of Clayton Edmonds, Archie Gibbs in third, Harry Payne in fourth, Luke Fidget rounds out your top five ahead of Wilson Dilks, Harris in seventh ahead of the two Johnsons, and Izzy Carter who rounds out the race, but on a separate bike, on a separate machine.
Yeah, I think at the end we lost Wilson Dilks and Bill Harris right at the end.
Yeah, so those two, and Luke Fidget as well, who's didn't finish. So Luke Fidget, who was on our timing screens in fifth, unfortunately, just something must have happened on that last lap and didn't finish the race. So Archie Gibbs it was that had the podium, and that promotes Austin and Byron Johnson up to fifth and sixth. Izzy Carter rounding out the race in seventh. So enjoyed that race?
Yeah, it was a good race. Obviously, lots of action all through the pack, and I think also Wilson deserves a bit of a shout out as it was his first ever race on a MK Mini GP 50 bike.
And soon it will be your very first race on the MK GP 50s as well. We look forward to seeing that. Thank you very much for joining us in the commentary box, and we can bring Gareth Hall back in. You were a very good replacement, and hopefully we'll have you back. Thank you.
Thank you.
So a brilliant race there for the MK GP50s. Brilliant to have Archie O'Brien joining us, but it's now the Extreme 200s, a category that we see a lot of British Talent Cup, British Superbike riders, riders from the British Superbike paddock coming into and having a bit of fun. Sullivan Mounsey will be in there as well. We've seen the likes of Evan Belford here in the past, not here this weekend, although Sullivan Mounsey is using his transponder. Casey O'Gorman, though, at the front of the British Talent Cup, and he's looking to be at the front of the Extreme 200s. Welcome back, Gareth.
Yeah, thanks very much. What a little star he is. I tell you, my job's been taken by Speed Penegar, it's been taken by Luke Fidget, and now by Archie O'Brien. And you can see they're very comfortable about talking about bikes, both on and off the track. But yeah, it's on as we go back onto it. As you say, Casey O'Gorman. Well, what can he do from leading away from this one? Because it looks as though Casey is almost on a different planet to everyone else when it comes to pace on this Extreme 200 machine. Behind, the battle is very much going to rage for the podium. But yeah, it is great to see a number of Extremes back on the circuit. It was a little bit light back up at Rara. Of course, a lot clashed with the BSB rounds back at Rara and at Clay Pigeon. So of course now we've got a little bit of a free weekend. We see everyone returning for a fantastic weekend's racing. So we will have Sullivan Mounsey in as Evan Belford, so it might show up on the timing screen as Evan Belford. However, just prepare yourself, it is Sullivan Mounsey. So Sullivan, of course, British Talent Cup rider, and doing a good job up there as well, as he was chatting with you and with Philip Surovac in the paddock yesterday.
Yeah, Sullivan. Yeah, we had a little chat with him yesterday. He was talking to us about his British Talent Cup endeavours and why he's back here at FAB-Racing. And a lot of these British Talent Cup riders and riders all through the British Superbike paddock, they come back here for a bit of training and a little bit of fun, and it helps them out on the big circuits as well. And he was explaining that to us all, explaining all about that to us yesterday. So go back and watch that if you haven't already watched it, because there's a little bit of insight into why these riders come back into the Extreme 200 category or the Pit Bike 140 category. We've seen a lot of them doing that as well. Some of them even with lap records. But as we talk about Sullivan Mounsey, he looks like he's had enough. Is he possibly just having a little bit of a rest there? But we'll have to. Oh no, that. I think that it looks as if that bike's possibly overheated or some problem with that. He's retired to become a marshal instead because he's picking up the flag.
So yeah, just extracurricular jobs for Sullivan Mounsey on their 44 as they try and get that bike restarted. But well, some work to do, and there you go. Big smile on his face. He can get back in the race as the barrier gets moved there, and that's going to allow all the Extreme 200s and the Moto teams to roll out on circuit for their first race of the weekend here at the Mototechniks round 6 of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championships here from Ellough Park in East Anglia, right up on the east coast of the UK. You're joining myself, Gareth Hall, and Tristan Finocchiaro for the final 3 races of the day. But don't worry, there are plenty more races left to come tomorrow. You can tune in for race 2s and race 3s here over on motorsport.radio, of course, over on FAB-Racing's YouTube and on their Facebook page. You can listen live on Motorsport Radio with live pictures and live audio. Of course, you can listen on VK if you're in Russia or Trovo, and plenty of other streaming, such as type Motorsport Radio and FAB-Racing into Google, and you will find a live stream from one of either this one. Of course, you can go back and watch all the races from previous events that we've done throughout 2021. Of course, we've been to the likes of Lid, we've been to the likes of Clay Pigeon, of Rowra, and of course Red Lodge, and we are now here at Ellough Park bathed in the sunshine in the east of the UK. And we've got a pretty big grid for the Extreme 200s and the Moto teams, which is great to see once again. And of course, different category of bike. The Extremes, Tristan, will have the edge on the Moto teams. They've got probably about 60cc more, a little bit more than the Moto teams. But Moto team equally, we always like to say, is a team category. It's the bike that scores the points, not the rider. So it is effectively look for the number. That is what's going to score the points, not the rider. However, I do believe it is Jason Pugh on his 8 machine. So that is the one that's leading the way in the championship, the one to beat, and the one that's been picking up the best results recently. So Jason Pugh, who's probably benefited from a lack of Simon Clowes this season, with the 133 missing out. Simon Clowes, of course, champion from last season, and but this time around it looks as though Jason Pugh and Jamie King are the ones that are going to be duelling out for Moto team.
Yeah, Jamie King's looked really strong. Of course, already won the championship over in the Pit Bike 140s, and now looking to pick up another championship here in the in the Moto team that are running with the Extreme 200s. And on pole position for those Extreme 200s is Casey O'Gorman, who's British Talent Cup rider ahead of James Dutton in second. On our grid is Evan Belford, but it's Sullivan Mounsey in third place ahead of Ollie Horner in fourth. On the third row of the grid, it's Georgina Polden ahead of Greg Marshall in sixth. Owen Mellor, Felix Dorlin, Jordan Hopes and Will Howarth round out the top 10 on the grid. On row 6, it's Bernie Hook ahead of Craig Bolden, Jamie King, Dylan Mellor and Jack Andrews rounding out the top 15. On the front of row 9, it's Adam Redding ahead of Peter Paparanos in 18th. Sean Whittaker in 19th ahead of Jason Pugh, Eden Katz, Phil Mapplebeck, Scott Jewett, Vince Bailey and Philip Joyce rounding out the top 25, with the number 228 of Ian Baker and Charlie Ems in 27th on the grid.
Of course, plenty of racing in this one, multiple categories. Even Moto team have got different categories in their own classes. Moto team open and Moto team stock. So points will be on order for 3 different categories, and we will try and keep you on tabs with who is finishing in what position, in what category, as soon as they get to the checkered flag in what around about 12 minutes time, I'd imagine. Of course, it's around about 50-second lap here, 50-55 second depending on the race. And well, they have got to look to the lights. It's going to be Casey O'Gorman. Lights on, lights off, and Casey leaving the grid. A big lift of the tyre there for Casey. That's going to open the door and down the inside. It's a good move from second position. It looks as though that was a good stop, but in fact, Casey's back up into the lead of this one. So Casey getting the run out the exit of turn 1 around the outside. So even with that front lift, just has that pace advantage over the second corner.
Yeah, Mounsey lost out big time there. Unfortunately, run place, run time, and that's Will Howarth that's gone down. Unfortunate for the number 96, Will Howarth picked up a good result earlier on in the senior mini motos and now crashes out of this Moto team race. So leading the Extreme 200s is Casey O'Gorman. We'll bring you the updates on the Moto team as the race goes on. You can see Jason Pugh there trying to make some movement. It's Jay King who's currently in the lead of the Moto team. But like I say, we'll update you on that as this race goes on. There's the number 44, Sullivan Mounsey, British Talent Cup rider, behind ex-junior Supersport rider James Dutton and current British Talent Cup Championship protagonist Casey O'Gorman.
Yep, Ollie Horner in 4th position and Georgina Polden in 5th position. So good start from Gina in 5th place. Owen Mellor, Craig Polden, Sullivan Mounsey, Greg Marshall, Felix Dorling, your top 10 in this one on lap 1. Good start from Casey. He's seemingly starting to break away from the chasing pack now. So this is going to be a little bit of a test for Casey. Can he keep his nerve through to the end? I'm sure he can, because he's very, very used to standing on the top step of the podium here at FAB-Racing as everyone makes their way through the dog leg hairpin at Barney's Bend down towards Wones hairpin for the second time. 10 laps is about to become 9 laps for Casey O'Gorman, and he is out here with a decent lap time of 49.238. We'll see how much faster that is than anyone else. It is around about a second faster than James Dutton in second position. It's now a 1.9 second advantage for O'Gorman.
Yeah, it's a good start from Casey O'Gorman. He's got that little bit of breathing space ahead of the likes of James Dutton and Sullivan Mounsey. Mounsey looking really menacing on that all-blue bike. It's Sullivan Mounsey running on the Sullivan Mounsey replica bike. Looks almost identical to his... Oh, that's Georgina Polden, unfortunately, who's gone down and out of the race trying to get that bike restarted and into the race. But yeah, Sullivan Mounsey running the exact same livery he does in the British Talent Cup with that the iForce Lloyd and Jones bike that he runs in the British Talent Cup, and he's completely replicated it here for the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship. So if you think he's running around on a Moto3, it's not, it's just a replica.
Well, you hope.
We hope, we think.
Or is he holding back a lot? So, but yeah, he's out there currently in third position. Casey O'Gorman leading away, however. 49.1 last time around, 4 tenths of a second faster than James Dutton in second position. James just negating the pace that Casey was putting down earlier on in this one. Sullivan Mounsey in third position for the rider from Shooters Hill in London is 4 tenths of a second behind James. So James Dutton in second position, still trying to battle off Sullivan in 4 second third. Ollie Horner 4 seconds back. He's got Owen Mellor 1.8 seconds back, and Craig Polden having a good run in 6th position, trying to close in on Owen Mellor. 8 laps left to go in this first race of the weekend for the Extreme 200 and Moto team category. It is the Mototechniks round 6 of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championships. Myself, Gareth Hall, and Tristan Finocchio are bringing you all of the action throughout the weekend here from motorsport.radio and with FAB-Racing. So make sure, if you're watching from home, we hope you're having a very lovely Saturday wherever you are around the world. Make sure you do all the good stuff you do on the socials, like, share, subscribe, and of course drop into the comments. Let us know where you're watching and who you are supporting. It's great to hear from you all the time. As you can see wide there, was that Jamie King going majorly wide on exit, trying to take as much entry speed and exit speed out of the corners, trying to maximise the advantage you get. Of course, these Extreme 200s, and this is the styles of riding you get from these different bikes. Of course, you'll see the Moto team bikes and the Extreme 200 bikes, huge disparities in size of bikes, and it's a fantastic one to see. And as riders starting to come up to lap traffic as we see bikes getting in the way
through as well. Really well there was those guys, and it is something that these guys are going to have to be able to cope with, is lap traffic. It's they're only short, sharp circuits here at the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship, of course, all karting circuits. But it's Jason Pugh now who's just defending his position, and of course he's fighting for the podium positions in the Moto team and for that Moto team category, and he doesn't want to be getting caught up with any of the Extreme 200 riders. But there is your Moto team race leader, Jamie King, on the number 76, reigning Pit Bike 140 champion and the current championship leader in the Moto team. All to play for here, with plenty of points on the board here this weekend, and more points up for grabs at Clandau, with it going to be a double points round for the likes of Jamie King in the Moto team and the Extreme 200 category as well. It's Jack Andrews who leads the way in the Extreme 200s, but not in the top 10 at the moment is the number 14 of of Jack Andrews, with Rossi Banham in second. Not 100% sure how up to date that Extreme 200 Championship is.
I think because we've had such a disjointed Extreme 200 Championship with everyone being away, is that it really is anyone's championship. I think effectively, if you can make the last 3 rounds of the season, you'll be up in championship contention. So the door is still open for a number of riders.
Surprise appearance from Gareth Hall at Extreme 200.
Yeah, I mean, if you're allowed to strap stabilisers onto a bike, then I'm in.
That's a go-kart or a sidecar.
But it's still Casey O'Gorman leading now from Sullivan Mountain, who's got up ahead of James Dutton into second position. Ollie Horner and Craig Polden are your top 5. Jamie King is in 10th position on circuit, but leading the way in Moto Team. He's got 5 bikes in between himself and Jason Pugh in the Moto Team class. So Jamie comfortably leading that one. In fact, battling with a number of the Extreme 200s, which is great to see as the 76, the Pit Bike Sonic, sweeping his way through the bends and the infield section. Is it's starting to get busy now as Casey O'Gorman starting to find his way up to the back end of the lap traffic, and he's got a little bit of work cut out ahead of him because he's got 4 laps left to go, and shortly, if he keeps on at this pace, he's going to start catching a lot of slower bikes. And although he's got a 5.4 second advantage, you don't really want to get caught out in a corner where you don't need to. He can afford to almost take around about 8/10 of a second out of his lap time and just make sure he gets to the end in clean air.
And he looks so comfortable, and he really looks like he's really enjoying himself on that bike. We've been watching him for the past lap, and he's been sideways. Watch him into here, rear wheel stepping out, hits the apex on the power, using all the track. He's going to probably run a fast line through here, and watch him down into the hairpin as well. His rear wheel will be off the ground. He's enjoying it. He looks really, really smooth on that KTM 85 machine. Watch him down into the hairpin, handful of brake, rear wheel in the air, hits the apex on the power, looks really comfortable on that. Number 172 is Casey O'Gorman, using this as some track time, also having a bit of fun, a little bit of training, getting the bike a little bit screwy, having a little feel for the limits and stuff, and that's exactly what he needs to be doing, and it's perfect training for his British Talent Cup campaign, and now having a little bit of practice of carving through traffic as well.
Yeah, he's just lapped Jason Pugh there in 16th position, and it's passing his way past Parapanis there, so for 15th. So you can see Casey already lapping up towards the top 10 now, so he's really starting to put the hammer down, with 2 laps left to go for Casey O'Gorman to make his way through. Jason Pugh still involved in the battle in Moto Team. He's looking at trying to reel in some points, because Jamie King leading that category by 65 points coming into this weekend. Jason Pugh needs to start finishing ahead of Jamie King, but unfortunately looks as though Jamie's going to have the edge over him. Of course, this is Jamie's local circuit. We knew last season when we came here, Jamie was desperate to pick up a victory. He picks up one, and it looks as though he's going to add another one to his name as they take the last lap flag. And Casey O'Gorman with one more tour off this Ellough Park circuit on that Extreme 200. Well, he's led from the front, and he's done exactly what he needed to do. He's got about 7 more turns to make his way around as he carves his way throughout the field, and just like we said, as he's coming up to the back of this gaggle of bikes in front of him, he looks as though he's just going to miss the back of it. Perfectly timed there from Casey. Surely that wasn't planned at all, but here we go into the dogleg chicane for the final time, and into Barney's Bend for Casey. Makes his way past a few slower bikes, and he's now down to the final hairpin for the final time. Casey O'Gorman in the Extreme 200 for race 1 of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship Mototechniks round 6 from Ellough Park is going to be your victor. Rounding the final corner for the final time goes Casey O'Gorman, taking the checkered flag. And that was easy, Tristan, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, we say easy. Try and have a go at it. 9.6 seconds ahead of Sullivan Mountie isn't easy at all, but yeah, like I say, he made it look easy. Looked so smooth out there, looked so comfortable. But there's still a race going on with the Moto teams, and it's going to be Jamie King that's going to take the victory on that one. Yeah, Jamie King picking up 25 points in the Moto team category, but it's Casey O'Gorman who picks up 25 in the Extreme 200s.
Yep, so it is Jamie King that leads Moto team away from Jason Pugh and Phil Mapplebeck, rounding out the Moto team open category in that one. Moto team stock win goes to Scott Jewett. He finishes in first position in that category. So there you go. It is 3 categories all in one race. It's a race that's meant to make the commentator's life as hard as possible, and but it is a fantastic one nevertheless. And well, there we go. Casey O'Gorman, Jamie King and Scott Jewett, your race winners in that one race. Explain that one. So they will be back out for their race 2s and race 3s tomorrow, so make sure you tune in for that on Motorsport Radio, or of course on FAB-Racing's YouTube and on their Facebook page. And of course you can find the links for all the live. Of course you go back and watch all the live racing throughout the weekend at your leisure during the week, and of course all the interviews I'm sure will be uploaded to the Facebook page, so make sure you go check out if you want to catch out what the riders are saying on the Friday before the weekend's action. But thank you very much for joining us here from Ellough Park. My name is Gareth Ball. I'm being joined by Tristan Finocchiaro, and we have got what have we got? 2 more races left to come. Next up, Tristan, premier class of FAB-Racing. It is the MKGP 70s, and it is the fight that we've been looking forward to all weekend long. It is Philip Soroviak, it is Mason Foster, and it is Ethan Sparks. Of course, Ethan Sparks coming into this season as the reigning AC40 Pro and GP50 champion. Mason Foster, 3rd in the championship in the 70s last season as well. Former champion on the AC40 Pros, and Philip Soroviak, the surprise package of the season, and the one to watch perhaps in the late stages. This one not out of the championship.
The big story behind the MKGP 70s this year is how competitive it's been, and how many riders can make good positions and are capable of podiums. The likes of Ollie Horner, who we saw last year, was really strong. He's still in this category. Ethan Sparks, who's graduated double champion last year, at the top of this championship, ahead of Mason Foster, who was strong in the category last year, and like we say, Philip Soroviak, who's graduated extremely well. The likes of Ronnie Harris as well, runner-up in the MKGP 50s last year, and Clayton Edmonds as well, who's obliterating the MKGP 50s, so strong.
Yeah, Ben Jollif, Charlie Huntingford, they've all been up in the podium in this MKGP 70s. It really is incredibly strong this year. It's last year it was the battle between Johnny Garness and Lucas Brown. This year it can really it looks as though it's going to go the way of the 3 of Mason Foster, Ethan Sparks and Philip Soroviak. However, it can really go anyway. We've seen Ronnie Harris looking very strong this weekend on the 66 machine. He'll be lining up on the 2nd row alongside Mason Foster, and if Ronnie can get a good start, he can really get himself involved in this fight for the victory, because it's going to be Ethan Sparks and Philip Soroviak on the front row. Ethan Sparks, he tends to get some good starts. Watch out for Philip Soroviak though, because the 75 has been in sensational form. 2 wins out of 3 for Soroviak back at Rower, but it will be Ethan Sparks and Philip Soroviak on the front row of the grid. 2nd row of the grid goes to Mason Foster and Ronnie Harris, and then behind it can be anyone's guess. Ben Jollif looking very strong on the 125, and equally plenty of others. Charlie Huntingford, local circuit for him, he'll be looking at picking up a decent result. He was very happy with his pace in Friday practice. What can he do for the race here? He's got plenty of overtaking opportunities on the circuit. It's hairpin friendly here at Ellough Park, so it opens the door for a bit of a lunge down the inside. But what can we see from your pole sitter, Ethan Sparks? Of course, Clayton Edmonds, he'll be up there as well. Clayton, who's finished on the podium this season in the 70s, a 2nd place finish in race 2 at Clay Pigeon, so he's no stranger to some good results on the 50s and on the 70s. But Ethan Sparks, he's only picked up 1 victory since the race 1 at Clay Pigeon 2 rounds ago. Since then, he's had to play second fiddle to the likes of Mason Foster and Philip Soroviak. But lining up on pole position, what can he do for this one? What can he do with Philip Soroviak alongside? Philip has got the wind beneath him. He knows that he's got the pace. He's picked up those 2 wins. He finally broke that wind duck. They get ready to kick off their first race of the weekend here as we get ready to watch the lights. It's going to be lights on, pause. It's a long pause. They're having to wait. There we go. Lights off, and it's a good start from Soroviak. Can he get down the inside of Sparks? No, Sparks is going to have a inside, gets the inside line, and behind is the 125 Ben Jollif getting around Mason Foster up into P3.
Looks as if a couple of them just jumped the start there, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that. A couple of them were caught out by the long wait that we had for the lights. You commented on it as it was happening, but Ben Jollif up into 3rd. Clayton Edmonds having a good ride. There's Blake Wilson making moves on the number 8 as well, but it is Sparks, Soroviak, and Jollif that lead away out the front. What's the watch out for the number 66 trying to make a move on the number 146 of Clayton Edmonds, but it is Ethan Sparks who leads away on the first lap. The first lap of 12 here for the MKGP GP70s, their first race of the weekend, and they're going to be looking to want to open their account in style, using all of the track and more for the number 62 of Ethan Sparks. Roger said he's going to be trying to button down on the track limits this weekend, but these guys using every inch of the track and more. Filip Sorowiak, though, we've said in the past, Gareth, that Filip Sorowiak has a really, really good first race.
Yeah, he tends to really start well. So what can he do with Ethan Sparks leading in front? Ethan, who's looking at getting back to winning ways, but Filip, he's made a couple of moves on Ethan Sparks in the last few rounds, especially back at Roura, surprising Ethan into one of the hairpins at, I believe it was Ardale's hairpin, up in the second sector of the lap. So will he do the same? Is he just going to sit behind Ethan and just get into a rhythm before he starts going to the offensive? Because behind here, the 125 of Ben Jollif is having a really stellar start to this race. It was the fastest lap last time around. In fact, this time it goes to Filip Sorowiak at 48.893, but Ben Jollif holding Mason Foster at bay. In fact, Mason gets down the inside. It was a slightly slower exit for Ben Jollif, but Mason there just can't quite get down the inside. But it's a good run for Ben Jollif. He's looking to add a podium to the second place he picked up at race 2 of the Clay Pigeon round. So he's been on the podium, he wants to be back there, but he's got to hold off Mason Foster, and that's no mean feat at all.
Ben Jollif, who told us he kept his bike exactly the same, hasn't changed the setup at all since Roura. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But it's Ethan Sparks who is out the lead of this race. He's trying to fend off Mason Foster. Oh, and Mason Foster, was there contact there between Foster and Jollif just in the corner of our picture? We saw Foster and Jollif. It is Foster that is ahead now of Ben Jollif, and he made that move stick. Just saw it in the corner of the picture, and now there is a gap between the top two and Mason Foster. Mason has really been on a charge in this later stages of the season, trying everything he can to bring that championship lead now, as Filip Sorowiak has a little look up the inside. Not to be this time around. Mason Foster, though, he has a little bit of time to be making up between him and this top two. Mason Foster has edged that gap down in the championship to 10 points between him and Ethan Sparks, but it is Ethan who currently has the better of the lot of them in the lead of this race. Ethan Sparks then, the number 75, Filip Sorowiak, looking menacing. Where's he going to make a move stick? Doesn't look as if we're going to have a breakaway leader.
No, and watch out for Ronnie Harris. Ronnie Harris, who's been putting some solid lap times in. Last few laps is now matching the leader's pace, and he's slowly starting to edge up to the back of this battle. He's last time around he was a little bit quicker than Mason and of Ben Jollif. So Ronnie Harris trying to get himself involved in this battle for the podium. Here comes Filip Sorowiak. Can he get down the inside? He just gets into the eye line and the peripheral vision there of Ethan Sparks, but Ethan just shutting the door. But you can see Filip Sorowiak perhaps just starting to turn the screw on that pressure towards Ethan Sparks. So can Ethan reply? Because you can see Sorowiak really starting to close in and make moves and just perhaps unsettle the 62 of Ethan Sparks. Mason Foster, however, is now right on the tail, and there you go, there's your championship 3 all in the same screen as they flash across the line with 7 laps left to go.
Yeah, here comes Mason Foster, fastest lap of the race a couple of laps ago, really on a charge to make this to break this gap. Ben Jollif now in a lonely 4th place ahead of Ronnie Harris in a lonely 5th. But this battle for the lead between the top 3 in the championship, it's Sparks, Foster, Sorowiak in the championship, and it's Sparks, Sorowiak, Foster in this race. But this will be changing as this race goes along. Still 6.5 laps to go for these guys, and it is the number 62 of Ethan Sparks, your championship leader, who is leading this race. Filip Sorowiak doing a good job to just follow him, see where he's strong, see where he's weak, see where he can make a move on that last lap and just position himself in the perfect place. But if he's not careful, he's going to have the number 88 of Mason Foster just clinging at his rear wheel, and he could be into trouble. But it could go any way between these 3.
Yeah, this is I'm enjoying this, because you know that at some point during this race it's got to explode. Something's got to happen. It's a pressure cooker, and it's building. You can see Filip Sorowiak is really starting to put pressure. He takes a wider line to get a tighter apex on exit, but Ethan just holding his lines nicely. But will Filip Sorowiak just think about a lunge here, because it looks as though Filip maybe just got the edge on race pace up against Ethan, but now Mason Foster is in position to make a move on Filip Sorowiak going down towards the hairpin. Filip covers him off nicely there, but the top 3 are really starting to break away from Ben Jollif now. It's 2.3 seconds back for Ben Jollif. Mason Foster now starting to put the pressure on. We'll see what the lap times are as they come across the line with 5 laps left to go in this one. And God, they are so close, within a tenth and a half of each other. All 3 riders are fighting out over this MKGP 70 battle. Behind, the fight is still going on between the likes of Clayton Edmonds and Blake Wilson. Charlie Huntingford and Josh Williams equally having a nice fight between themselves, and Clayton Edmonds dropping down behind Blake Wilson.
Yeah, and this is Felix Dorling and Harry Payne battling it out for 11th. Also Greg Marshall in there as well. So this is a 3-way battle for 11th spot, as there's almost contact there between Payne and Felix Dorling. Harry Payne's had some technical problems earlier on, but now Greg Marshall up the inside of the number 11 of Harry Payne. Is he trying to do 2 in 1? Not quite this time round. He's not going to be able to do the double, but now 87. Felix Dorling leads this battle for 11th ahead of Greg Marshall and Harry Payne on the number 11. Sparks it still is that leads out the front. There's been no changes out the front as of yet, but still now 3.5 laps to go for these guys, back with the front 3, and between these guys they have this 3-rider group at the front. They have 3 AC40 Pro Championships between them, with Mason Foster being a double AC40 Pro champion, and Ethan Sparks doing the double as a double champion last year with AC40 Pros in the MKGP 50. So championships all round in this top 3, but it is Ethan Sparks now that leads ahead of Filip Sorowiak, looking for another win on his season.
Yeah, it shows you just how strong these 3 have been, is that these 3 have shared the win in every race so far this season. No one else bar these 3 have stood on the top step of the podium in the MKGP 70 season in 2021. Ethan Sparks coming into it as the AC40 Pro and GP50 champion, of course. Mason Foster, AC40 Pro champion in the past, and runner-up in both the 50s, and I believe in 3rd place in the championship in the 70s last season. So they've all got a lot of pedigree underneath those very flash bikes, and you can see underneath the helmets, I'm sure it may be not as calm and collected, because Ethan Sparks is having to work for this. Filip Sorowiak is really starting to put the pressure on Mason Foster, surely with as they come around to start the penultimate lap, just waiting for that opportunity. Is it going to be this? Is Filip Sorowiak close enough to make a move? Not quite. Ethan is just hugging every apex. Is it going to open the door for Filip to make a move down in towards Shoemakers? No, it's not quite close enough. You can see Ethan holding on to he's basically just hugging that racing line. He's going to make Filip really work for this one.
Yeah, he really is. He's making sure there's no way through for the likes of Filip Sorowiak or the likes of Mason Foster. Mason just lost a little bit of time coming out of the hairpin and onto that back straight, now down into the dogleg hairpin for one more time, and they're coming out to up to some lap traffic. That's number 41 of Noah Guillory. How is this going to pan out? The top 2 are under him. How is Mason Foster going to do? Mason Foster's underneath as well. So these top 3 through nice and cleanly. They're going to come through the final corner for the penultimate time. It is last lap time. The last lap flag is out for the MKGP 70s. Which way is it going to go? The top 3, Ethan Sparks, Filip Sorowiak, Mason Foster. Ethan Sparks with a tiny little bit of breathing space, but not too much to worry about for Filip Sorowiak at the moment. And Filip Sorowiak has a little look, tries to make sure he's got that inside line, but it's not going to be here. Just a few more corners to go. Which way is it going to go between Sparks and Sorowiak? It's safe to say Mason Foster's out of this one for the race win, so it's between these 2 down into the dogleg hairpin. What's going to happen? Just one more passing opportunity for Filip Sorowiak. And what is Ethan Sparks going to do? He defends his line well. He's not close enough. Is Sorowiak, and they come down into Mini Rossi corner for the final time. And it looks as if, unless barring an act of God for the drag to the line, it's going to be Ethan Sparks that takes victory for race 1 of the MKGP 70s. Filip Sorowiak in 2nd, and the number 88 of Mason Foster picking up another podium in the MKGP 70s. An interesting race, but no changes of positions on that final lap.
Oh, stand up and applaud these boys. They are absolute magicians on those bikes. What a race. The positions may have not changed, however, that was a race of absolute supreme defending and defensive riding from Ethan Sparks. Filip Sorowiak just couldn't find a way past. Mason Foster was waiting for something to happen. It didn't quite work out. And Ethan Sparks picks up his first race win in 6 races Philip Sorovac adds another second place to his tally, and Mason Foster a third place, and only his third place of the season. But it is Ethan Sparks winning from Philip Sorovac, Mason Foster third, Ronnie Harris a very credible fourth position ahead of Ben Jollif. In fact, Ronnie overtaking Ben Jollif in the final stages of that one. Blake Wilson finishing ahead of Clayton Edwards with Josh Williams, Ollie Horner and Charlie Huntingford in your top 10. Felix Dorn and Greg Marshall, Harry Payne and Noah Guillory are your 11 through to 14. And well, that is Ethan Sparks. He adds another. That's his 7th win on the season for him. So I'm sure he'll be very, very happy. He knew that he needed to be picking up wins with that championship lead looking smaller and smaller coming into this round.
So he extends that championship lead by 9 points up to from 10 to 19. Quick maths here in the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championship commentary box. Ethan Sparks extends his championship lead ahead of Mason Foster. And Philip Sorovac also losing points to Ethan Sparks, but will be slightly closer to Mason Foster now. So it's all to play for in that top 3 for the MKGP 70s, and plenty of points up for grabs tomorrow, and double points up for grabs at the final round for the MKGP 70s. So it's really, really not over until the final round. It's going to go right down to the wire, but plenty of action left to come tomorrow, and one more race of the day left here for round 6 of the Mototechniks round for the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championships. Up next, we're going to have the Mini F1 sidecars, and also plenty more action coming up tomorrow as well. In this category, Gareth, it's been pretty much a one-horse race.
Yeah, it has. It is the 26 of Mick Williams and Michael Elms that have been incredibly dominant over the last 2 years. And well, we were speaking to Roger Keys, of course, series director here at FAB, and he says, well, they tend to win unless there's a bike issue. And so they are the benchmark for all of these pairings, and leading away. They've won every single race of every single round on the season. They have a 150 point advantage over anyone else, which if my maths make correct, I'm pretty sure if they win all 3 races, they pretty much win the championship, do they not? They would have a 225 point advantage with 225 points of...
Yes, depends on everyone else.
We'll say yes, yeah. So I'm pretty sure that...
I wouldn't put my money on anyone else.
No, well, how dare you? I'm sure they'll be straight up to the commentary box after as they go away for their green flag lap. It is going to be Mick Williams and Michael Elms on pole position behind Jason and Leo Greenstreet, leading away from Adrian and Claire Ems. Then it looks as though we've got the 89 of John Keats in 4th position, and I'm trying to it's Keats because it's flicking his way around.
Sending it on the warm-up lap.
Yes, they're out there trying to warm the tyres up. We'll say that as they go around, and it is a tricky circuit for these passengers, isn't it? Because they're effectively always on the move.
Yeah, exactly like you said. There's always some sort of drama. There's always not always, but possibly sometimes we see some of the passengers being lost in mowing the grass that we saw back at Lydd as well. So always great racing in this class, and excited to see what this race will bring. It looks as if Mick Williams and Michael Elms are in a very good stead to take this championship. An absolute clean sweep so far this season, winning every single race so far. We've had 5 rounds, 3 races per round, and they've won every single one. Will they be able to keep their clean sweep? This weekend is race 1 for the Mini F1 sidecars, their first race of the weekend for round 6, the Mototechniks round 6 here at Ellough Park. And running up on that pole position is Mick Williams and Michael Elms with a commanding lead they had in qualifying. Jason and Leo Greenstreet, though, watch out for them off of the line.
Yeah, they if they can get their start nailed, then they can be a threat going down into turn 1. But we get ready as the passengers all lean, getting ready. It's lights on, pause, lights off, and you can see it's a good start from the second row. What can Adrian and Claire Ems do from third? Can they get around the outside of the Greenstreets into turn 1? It's a good launch from the Ems pairing, and there you go, almost getting up, but Greenstreet's just covering them off. But it's a great getaway from the pole sisters, already breaking away by around about half a second to a second. The Greenstreets in second, the Ems pairing in third, and well, that's a battle that we're going to see throughout the majority of this race. And then behind it is anyone's guess. It can go in anyway. We know that this season it has been the most chaotic in the mini F1 sidecars in a while. There has been panel bashing, there's been arms out, there's been legs out, we've been losing passengers, we've been losing bikes, and it has been a fantastic watch. But it is Mick Williams, Michael Elms now leading away from the green street and the M's.
It was a better start from Jason and Leo Greenstreet this time around. We've seen some dodgy starts from them in the past, but they've been practicing. We saw them, we watched them practice their starts. Oh, and a big moment there for John Keats on the red outfit there. Just 2 wheels on the ground, 1 wheel in the air. We saw that earlier on in qualifying. Not the way you want to be going around this Ellough Park circuit on one of these bikes, but now there is a battle between these guys. There's John Keats in there, there's Mark, this is the number 230, yeah, it's Mark Parker in there as well. So these guys all battling for 4th place, and look how much that they lean off the side of these outfits.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about in qualifying earlier, is that all these bikes are built differently. The frames are slightly different. The way that the passenger, you can see on Keats' machine there, the passenger's almost got a seat for their torso to sort of slide in between. But then you've got the likes of John Hosker's bike, when unfortunately John not with us this weekend, but it's just a plate that you just lay on, and then obviously Adrian and Claire Ems, which is very much you use the back of Adrian as your lean. But it's fantastic to see them all adapt their riding styles down, almost helmets scraping along the ground there as they're making their way around the hairpin. It is well, we put a bet on the fact that we reckon we'll lose at least one passenger this weekend, due to the fact that the passengers are just moving around almost consistently. You sit in a full, pretty much a half squat, and well, from experience of Tris and I both being a passenger on these, thanks to Sean Hosker and Adrian and Claire Ems, it's exhausting, isn't it? It really is. I mean, not only is you just get the rush of adrenaline being out there and being dragged and pulled around by your driver, but moving around and sitting in that half squat and then looking down and seeing the tarmac flashing across in front of you is absolutely exhilarating. As you can see there, change of position as Mark Parker on the 230 that's looking again up and past the 89 of John Keats.
Action all the way through this sidecar race. It's Mick Williams and Michael Elms that have no need for big moves, and they're flying out the front. 4.8 seconds it was last time across the line. I believe in more now. Number 333 of Scott Jewett slowing down. Looks as if having some sort of issue there on that all-white outfit, so not what they would have wanted at all. But here's John Keats, always looking lively upon that all-red outfit, currently in 4th place on this mini F1 sidecar race. 8.3 seconds is the lead of Mick Williams ahead of Jason and Leo Greenstreet, and 3 seconds a lap faster than anyone else on that number 26 Red Bull inspired outfits. And look how much they lean off of these bikes. John Keats, his passenger, all the way off the side, almost helmet scraping along the tarmac around this Ellough Park circuit. 3 laps to go for these guys as Mick Williams and Michael Elms come towards the far end of the circuit, and we'll be crossing the line very, very shortly. But this is going to be, there's a lonely battle, well, a lonely ride for Jason and Leo Greenstreet in 2nd, a lonely ride for Adrian and Claire Ems in 3rd, but this battle for 4th hearting up really nicely. But these guys out the front, so consistent, so dominant, absolute masters of their trade.
Yeah, absolutely so. And a huge amount of respect to Claire Ems, who's been racing as a passenger with a torn ACL, I think it was, in her knee, which, I mean, in any sport is difficult when you're being thrown around a go-kart circuit at incredible speeds. And it's one thing that I wasn't expecting when I've karted for years and years and years, but the pull that you feel as a passenger on this, obviously, I think when you're not driving it yourself, that you get that full sense of force, and yeah, you feel like your skeleton's been ripped out of your body by it. It was absolutely incredible. But the fact that she's doing it with a pretty severe knee injury is a huge credit to her.
Yeah, absolutely. And then a big move being made here from the number 89 of John Keats up the inside. Really nicely done, but they're fighting back now, and they're side by side again. This is going to end in tears, but they've got a little bit of an advantage now, so they've just lost a little bit of time, and that's just allowed John Keats to get away.
Big moves with Tristan Finocchiaro as he watches John Keats hold on to position here on the 89. But, well, it's 2 laps left to go. That is shortly going to become 1 lap left to go for Mick Williams and Michael Elms on the 26, adding another 25 championship points to their name. They're sweeping their way around O'Rossi in the second and middle sector of this lap here at Ellough Park, over in the east coast of the UK. And well, just a few more corners left to go. They've got until they start their final lap, and the 26 has once again been on absolutely supreme form, as we've seen all season long, as we saw all throughout the 2020 season as well, which Tristan and I were lucky enough to cover for the Mini F1 Sidecars. And you managed to watch these guys, and equally, if you watch the F1 sidecars that they get up in there, and is it the BSB paddock, the F1 sidecars?
Yes.
It is phenomenal. Those things go like a spaceship. They are
600cc engines in them. They used to run 1000cc engines in them. Incredibly quick and incredibly scary stuff. There's battles brewing at the back with John Keats, and there's been a change of position on this last lap.
Yeah, that's Mark Parker, who's got up past Adrian and Claire Ems for third position, so that's a change to the podium. Adrian has got a little bit of work to do as they go around into the infield section, but Mick Williams and Michael Elms are still making their way through, but the battle is still raging on for the podium positions. What can the Ems pairing do? Is he going to go down the inside? He's thinking about it. Not quite close enough to get the move done, but it's going to be the pairing of Mick Williams and Michael Elms once again on the top step of this podium, making it look like a breezy day out on a Saturday afternoon. And once again, checkered flag for them, 25 points. Jason and Leo Greenstreet once again finishing on the podium. Fantastic result for them. It looks as though the podium is going to go the way of Mark Parker, who's had a fantastic race, starting from I believe it was 6th position, making his way up and taking podium on the final lap ahead of Adrian and Claire Ems. They're going to come back tomorrow, I'm sure, with fire in their bellies, wanting to take it back. But it is Mick Williams, Michael Elms, Jason and Leo Greenstreet, Mark Parker on the 2:30 finishes ahead of Adrian Ems. John Keats, best result of the season for John Keats, I think, on the 89, I'm sure, and they've done it pointing in the right direction. Fantastic result from the 89. That poor bike has seen a rebuild almost every single round they've been at. They went over the barriers at Red Lodge, they went over the barriers at Clay Pigeon, they were up on their nose at Clay Pigeon. It was, but it's great to see them back and looking or much more in much better synergy as a pairing. They maybe a little bit more two-wheeling action they were hoping for, but well, a bike that is planted is Mick Williams and Michael Elms. They went around, winning margin of 8.3 seconds, and that rounds out the racing for today here from Ellough Park. 9 races down. Of course, we have plenty more to come tomorrow, so make sure you do tune in with Tristan and I for all the day's racing on, of course, motorsport.radio and over on FAB Racing's YouTube and on their Facebook page and plenty more streaming services. Just make sure you Google FAB Racing and you will find it. Of course, you can go to fabracing.co.uk if you'd like to get yourself on the grid, find out all the details for signing up for the 2022 season, which will be coming up and again, I'm sure, being announced over the next few weeks as they wait for the BSB dates to be fully announced. As well, we've had a fantastic day's racing, haven't we, Tristan?
We do. We've had a fantastic day's racing today, and we'll have even more coming up tomorrow. We'll have the likes of the MKGP 70s that was so entertaining on that last lap, and all through the race, and we'll have 2 more races of those tomorrow. 2 more races from every single category we've seen today. We will see double of tomorrow, and it's their final round of normal scoring points before we go into that double points round at the final round, round 7 at Landau. So all the points ready to be scored on the boards tomorrow for this round 6 Mototechniks round here at Ellough Park.
Yeah, so well, hopefully we'll be able to be bringing you all the action tomorrow. Of course, we're going karting with the dads now, so perhaps one of us might end up in hospital in a full body cast. We'll find out. We'll find out if it's going to be well. You say get your elbows out in on the bike, so I'm going to find out what it's like karting up against me now. I'm looking forward to this. We've been waiting for this for about 2 years.
I think it's going to end in a tyre wall.
So yeah, absolutely, it's a huge community feel here at FAB, and well, we're looking forward to the guys getting out on circuit very, very shortly and enjoying themselves here at this fantastic Ellough Park circuit. And it's been a mega day's racing. Hopefully you will be able to join us all throughout to tomorrow's action, and yeah, make sure you do join us over on your social media platform of choice. Thank you very much for joining myself, Gareth Hall, and Tristan Finocchiaro. We'll be back tomorrow for race 2s and race C's here at FAB Racing.
Let's go! The official BSB Partner Series. This is FAB Racing. Yeah.